Hi and welcome to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's a very croaky Paul here with
Dan,
Chris,
and Lee.
You guys are going to have to do a lot of the talking for me today. I am struggling.
you'll be fine. Push through it.
I'll push through. Oh, hang on, I've just run into someone.
Topical.
Oh, my race is over. Anyway. Shame we're recording on a Sunday afternoon, but we're out of time for a sad Fernando this week.
I know.
Why?
I don't think Fernando had time for a sad Fernando this week.
No. I'm pretty sure Fernando was a sad Fernando.
He seemed more upbeat than I thought he was going to be.
I think he let his mechanic do all the sadding for him. Anyone see the tweet that one of his mechanics team put out after the race?
Something about I'm fed up of watching races with my car broken down in front of me.
That's the one. It's usually my driver broken down in front of me. Well, that was a fun-packed and exciting racing bit.
It was a
Singapore
fun
Grand
fact,
Prix.
an exciting beginning.
I am the weather god. 2 races in a row I have predicted rain on the correct days.
Is my holiday going to be dry, or am I going to get another hurricane?
You probably don't want to know.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Introduce a little mystery into your life. Don't ask Chris for predictions.
I don't want mystery to be a hurricane.
I didn't know, but we did actually have a listener.
Well, I don't know. They're coming up to Hurricane M, aren't they? So that might be Hurricane Mystery.
It could be hurricane mystery.
Yeah, or Missy, or... Anyway, we digress.
No, you do.
All right.
But we did have a listener message us, didn't we, on Facebook saying, "Can Chris please pick my lottery numbers?"
Yes.
If I could do that, I'd be picking them for myself.
Yeah. Well, you can't use powers you get for your own good. So what you need to do is pick their lottery numbers and then
split
copy
it.
them.
Yeah. And split it.
Oh, well, I like your style with that. That's good. That is good.
I won the lottery. I've won half the lottery with the man who picked my numbers.
Right, I guess team by team is the traditional way of doing it, and I think we are going to start with Ferrari.
Are we going to start with the incident then? Because if we don't talk about that,
Well-
then we've not got a lot to talk about with Ferrari.
If
Remain indoors.
well,
Oh, no, sorry, that was the event.
That's the event.
Singaporeing it down before the start of the race.
They qualified well.
They did.
Singaporeing it, I like.
Singaporeing it down is
Other Singapore rain puns, not as good.
No. We saw some pretty terrible
Yeah,
jokes.
mentioning no names as to who.
Yeah.
Who?
We'll tell you later.
Yeah. I'll write it down so that the listeners can't see it.
Yeah, suffice it to
Okay.
say, we did it first.
Right. Are we talking about our official tribute act?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
yeah,
that's the one.
one.
I didn't even have to put pen to paper. Look at that. Brilliant.
So, yeah, qualified well. Where did Vettel get that pace from all of a sudden in Q3?
Don't know, but it was one of those.
He pressed the Hamilton button.
He did like one of those Hamilton style laps, but we know Vettel's with the car underneath him, Vettel can produce those kind of laps as well. Qualifying was actually really interesting because throughout the weekend it looked like Red Bull were well on top, and up until qualifying, it was almost guaranteed that it was going to be Red Bull 1 and 2. But wasn't to be the case at all. Ferrari somehow found some pace from somewhere. A lot of people thought Mercedes was sandbagging a little bit and probably be in the fight, and they weren't.
No.
I did find what Hamilton was saying. Oh my God, hang on, I'm going to die. I did find what Hamilton said. Oh, gee, I'm going to die again. Why won't these words come out?
God, we could all stop being sick and just get on with
In
the
his
podcast.
pit interview.
How is that hangover, Chris?
Fine. I have coffee.
In Hamilton's pit interview, he seemed to say, "Oh, it's weird how Ferrari can come here and all of a sudden be so quick when they've never been that far ahead of us. I find it really difficult to understand where they can find that pace just out of nowhere." And the way he said it suggested that maybe he thought there might be something going on with that car.
I think he was playing psychological games.
Maybe, but it is Ferrari.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they do like a cheat here and there.
Yeah, they do. But unless I would be very surprised if Lewis Hamilton was the only one to have heard anything and was the only person to verbalise it. Had he heard anything,
I wonder whether...
I think Hamilton's just starting to play games with them now.
No, I wonder whether... Like, we used to get quite a lot, at the beginning of the season from the Braun's double diffuser to the flexi wings to things, to the third brake pedal in the McLaren. We used to get a lot of these rumours come out.
You're going back to the Stone Age with that one.
Well, the two brake pedals in McLaren was 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hakkinen Championship year.
It only became illegal when they found it.
Yeah.
But I often wonder whether there's been like a new sort of even part of a contract, but an unspoken rule that's gone around here, because the trick suspension that Mercedes and Red Bull had seemed to be very quickly mopped up and very quietly mopped up. So I think there's a definite look to keep things in house these days. And so I wonder whether these things like the oil burning seemed to raise its head and then die off very quickly.
The FIA did bring in things for that, didn't they? But then they quite quickly said afterwards, we can't really measure whether or not it's deliberate.
Yeah.
So because every engine will burn oil at different points. They're not supposed to burn a lot, but I mean, if you are deliberately putting oil into your combustion chambers for them to produce more power, then that's obviously cheating. But they can't tell whether or not you're doing it deliberately.
Well,
that's the problem.
Question: Why not just allow them to do it?
Why not just allow them to do everything? This is the thing with conversation we had with Sean last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, this is what we've been talking about. Do you know what? This goes back 3 years and 2 days.
To when we started.
To when we actually started. When I had that conversation with you when we were watching the first Formula E race.
Just after it.
Yeah. And I think it was actually Dan that said it, even before he joined the team, about...
Team?
We are a team.
Jesus.
Unfortunately, you're the mascot.
Right, okay.
Hang on a second. Prost and Heidefeldt's massive accident at the end of that first Formula E race gave birth to this podcast.
So we have got Formula E to thank for something.
I like the idea that the crash was that fucking scary that somebody birthed a podcast.
Well, Nick Heidefeldt nearly birthed something else.
Yeah.
When he landed upside down on that fence.
No, I think he wanted to try and burst Prost's face.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was actually Dan that put it in the comments on the Facebook post where we were talking about it, saying, just let them do what they want. It's a prototype. It's meant to be.
That's what I've
experiment.
been saying for 3 years.
Yeah.
I think in an ideal world, that's right. That it's. I personally don't think. I think Formula One's progressed beyond being a prototype series now. Well, I say, in fact, it depends which way you look at it. It's either, if you look at it from my side, it's progressed beyond just being a prototype racing series to being a entertainment sport that's an entity unto itself and not beholden to anything else around it. Whereas some other people, because it's become more, they might think it's digressed in that point. But but
then again, you don't get prototype series in sport anymore, because even the P in LMP, there's that many restrictions on it that the Le Mans prototypes aren't prototypes anymore.
Well,
no.
To be perfectly honest, I think LMP is something Formula One needs to look at very closely, because that's a series to showcase technology, and it's a series for manufacturers to showcase technology.
When all the manufacturers end up saying, "Oh, sod this,"
and it's falling apart.
You're being
tits.
Yeah, you're being too restrictive. Sod it. We're off to Formula E.
Yeah,
and LMP appears to, as you say, be falling apart now.
But there isn't an LMP1 championship next year because they've got enough cars.
No, that's crazy. And this year's getting destroyed because the only cars that can race each other are Porsche, and they've introduced team rules.
Yeah.
Somebody probably needs to get that door before cats
arrive in. Yes, the
door.
But
digressing and going back to what happened this afternoon in particular. That was only the second time in history that Ferrari haven't completed a lap.
Really?
Of a race.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, got Dan to
Is the first time the first race because they weren't in it? No, because they weren't in the first Grand Prix, were they? They were in.
I think it's when they started a race.
It was in 1970.
Yeah, it was 1970. Jackie Ickx didn't get all the way round.
Right. Okay.
The
so
first
it's the
lap
first
in
one.
Spain.
No, because that's
the first one that they're taking part in.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Because that was the only race they've never taken part in, isn't it? Was the first Grand Prix.
So this was the first ever Formula One race with two Ferraris in it, where both Ferraris didn't complete the first lap.
Yeah.
Shall we talk through the incident?
Let's talk through the incident, because we have had messages from listeners and fans of the show during and after the race saying, how dare Ferrari pin the blame on Max Verstappen? And we've had also people saying, how dare Max Verstappen put both Ferraris out of the race?
I can sum this up, because as Dan said, the Vettel got his pole lap by pressing the Lewis Hamilton button.
Yes.
It would turn out that next to the Lewis Hamilton button is the Pasta Maldonado button.
Push to pasta.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. The FIA, just to say this right now, the FIA have decided no further action, haven't they? No one's to blame.
That's correct, yeah.
No one's wholly responsible.
No
or
one's wholly responsible.
Wholly or responsible
significantly.
in the majority.
It was a racing incident, but it was Vettel's fault.
Yeah, completely.
So
like,
let's just quick straw poll. Do any of us think that Verstappen has any blame at all?
No.
My laptop's putting its hand up because the tweet from Ferrari is still on the screen.
Now, do you want to read out?
Is ridiculous.
No, and they've backed it up since then.
Have they?
Yeah.
They've doubled down.
Oh,
They've-
the bunch of cunts.
Right, it's on your laptop screen. Can you read both tweets out?
Right,
Paul?
the first tweet was during the race. Verstappen took out Kimi and then he went on to hit Vettel.
Bollocks.
That's not what happened.
No, Kimi Räikkönen hit Vettel.
3 hours later, what we tweeted was a factual description of events. No need to speculate on this.
That sounds like that should have been the first tweet, and they were going to do some sort of cheap TV dramatization of it.
Have Ferrari decided to move their base from Maranello to Pyongyang?
Have they hired Sean Spicer?
No, this is
Alternative facts.
this
Yeah.
is the guy that Saddam Hussein had during the Gulf. What was it?
Oh, Chemical Alley.
Chemical Alley.
Yeah. Oh, saying that the Americans were nowhere near Baghdad.
As the line of American tanks rolls past him.
Yeah. Well, behind the background, between two buildings, there's a couple of American tanks go past him.
Yeah. Ferrari. I'm sorry, we're calling you out. You were talking crap.
Yeah, you are, and you got it wrong. I'm sorry, but Ferrari had the best chance today to retake the lead of the championship after what was a dismal showing at Monza. They had a really good opportunity to, at least put themselves back in the mix for the next 6 races. What should have happened after the Singapore Grand Prix was that we'd be looking at the final 6 races going, really don't know which way this is going to go.
Yeah.
Vettel leads the championship by, I don't know, 10 points or something like that. Vettel leads the championship by 10 points. And you've got, Raikkonen and Bottas as rear gunners.
Yeah.
It could go either way here. This is going to be a really interesting fight for the championship. However, what we've been left with is Ferrari drivers' own... I don't want to say stupidity because that's not the right...
I don't think Kimi was to blame at all. Either.
No, I don't think Kimi was to blame.
No, I think he was the same as Verstappen.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is why Vettel went so far over to that side.
No,
There was no one to cover off.
Because he started badly and just...
The thing is, there was no one to cover off. Okay, Lewis Hamilton, his main championship rival, starts 5th on the grid. You can't tell me that Vettel or somebody didn't have a word in Vettel's ear if you didn't already know it. Look, Hamilton starting 5th. If you lose a place at the beginning, that's fine.
Yeah, he should have been willing to finish 3rd behind a Red Bull 1-2.
Yeah, 3rd behind a Red Bull 1-2. Yeah, or second.
I don't know. The 25 points would help him.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that's what he should aim for.
Or second in the middle of 2 Red Bulls.
Yeah.
But that's what he should have been thinking. Even if I
it should have been
today,
it should have been like that.
Yeah.
That should have been what it should have been. Red Bull, Ferrari, and then probably Kimi behind to separate separate him out from the Mercedes, which still would have given Vettel a points advantage over Lewis
Unless you're
Hamilton.
Fernando Alonso thinks something different, but we'll get to that.
Also,
We will get to that.
considering Ferrari's tweet blaming Verstappen, the fact that we all think it was Vettel's fault. The in-car radio that was never broadcast of Vettel was him radioing back to the garage, going, "I'm so sorry, guys. I'm really, really sorry." That doesn't sound like a man that's aggrieved with the situation.
I think that's from when he spun and crashed into the wall, isn't it?
It would have been after the incident.
After
The second incident.
Yeah, after the 3-way crash.
He lost it on his oil or something, or his coolant.
Yeah, he was spewing radiator fluid all over
his back wheels. Yeah.
And he span and crashed into the wall and was out completely. And I think he was apologising for the spin, which was.
I think that's very up in the air.
He also had Kimi Raikkonen's end plate in his barge board.
Yeah.
Which can't have helped.
No.
Downforce. It's another wing.
Verstappen, essentially, right, what happened was Verstappen got pinched by both Ferraris.
Yeah.
Now, if you're driving, and let's quote the Ayrton Senna quote again, if you're going for a gap that exists, and you're trying to force your way through, and then the cars come from either side.
Yeah.
And they literally squish you. They give you nowhere to go. Both cars, you end up with both cars either side hitting you on both sides.
Yeah.
At what point is that your fault?
Don't know.
Ferrari have got this monumentally wrong.
Isn't it strange of recent times how even when Ferrari get it right, something manages to get it wrong for them? Do you know, be it internal politics?
Yeah.
Like Ferrari seem to be able to snatch the worst possible results from like a rose field.
And also, they quite defiantly, they packed up their garage and all the mechanics sort of eventually disappeared, but the pit wall staff stayed on the pit wall watching their screens. What were they doing? You know, the only thing
we're working. Don't sack us.
Exactly. The only thing I can think that they were doing was perhaps watching data from other cars.
Yes.
Maybe, perhaps, and I don't know why they would even bother, watching the 6-second off the pace Ferrari powered Sauber to see how the 2016 engine was holding up.
I would imagine they were paying more attention to the Mercedes.
I'd imagine there was more chance they were
Saubers.
playing Doom.
Well, Mercedes didn't have. Well, we'll get to Mercedes later on, but I mean, they're the team that they didn't have the pace, did they, all weekend?
I just like the idea now of the guys on the pit wall going, the team's out, there's nothing to do, LAN party!
Yeah, they're all wired up and they're all playing Hidden and Dangerous or something like that. Well, you've got to hide from Sergio Marchioni. It's a special Ferrari edition.
You just killed him.
It's Hidden and Dangerous, the Ferrari edition, where the setup is the Maranello factory, and you've got to try and get from one end to the tea break room without being found by Sergio Marchioni.
Either that or it's like a modded version of GoldenEye, but like you couldn't use it's just Ferrari Legends, but like you couldn't use Oddjob when you're playing GoldenEye but multiplayer.
Be Nicky Lauda.
Yeah. You can't choose you can't, what's his name? FIA man now.
John Tott.
You can't choose John Todd.
No. Oh, quite. We need. If there are any game developers listening, there's an idea for you right there. Ferrari GoldenEye.
I'd be happy with Ferrari Half-Life.
Well, that's what they've got at the moment.
I think the average half-life of a Ferrari member of staff is about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That's never the case, though, is it?
But with the
They seem
incident,
to stay there forever.
with the fact of the incident, Verstappen put it perfectly by saying it was going to be a long race, but it was all over in 200 meters.
Yeah. Sauber next.
Who?
So Haas.
Well, can we
Sauber.
take a moment to talk about Sauber, because A, they got their pit strategies horrifically wrong for both cars, and B,
What is Marcus Ericsson doing on the grid?
Yeah, of course, yeah. That was the most pathetic crash I think I've ever seen. I know, all right, okay. It was the most pathetic crash I've ever seen since Luca Badoa span at Valencia. Those 4 or 5 times that he span.
Yeah, it wasn't ideal.
Ericsson's accident today, like, what even was that? All right, it was difficult conditions, but no one else did that.
No, some other people did some
And it
other
was
stupid
dry.
stuff.
It was pretty much dry when he did that. He wasn't fighting anyone. He was just bored. He tested to see how wet the wet was and got it wrong.
Yeah. It could be construed as that. But I don't know what he's doing there. He's not a Formula 1 driver.
No.
Yeah,
And
he's
also,
just got loads of money.
we know Pascal Wehrlein can be a good driver, but his car on the softest tyre, the ultra soft, was running 6 seconds a lap off the pace.
Jesus.
So his fastest lap was 3.5 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race. That was his personal fastest lap.
Anybody see Statman's qualifying stat for Rosberg's
No.
pole time last year? This was fucking ace. Rosberg's pole time last year would have seen him 12th and eliminated in Q2.
Well, there you go. That's how
So
much.
this year's cars are a bit faster
Yep.
than last year's.
Except the Saubers.
Except the Saubers.
Now Sauber, as Dan pointed out during the race, are now in Manor territory.
Yeah. I was looking at their lap times and thinking what you were saying last year about Manor.
Yeah.
That they shouldn't be there if they're 5 seconds a lap off the pace.
The only thing I can hope for is we've all played Formula 1 managing games before where everything's gone tits, you've made wrong decisions all over the shop, and you think, just got to not spend this season so I can build a better car next year. So I just hope that Sauber are playing F1 manager.
Well, they are just surviving until
Yeah.
next year now because they've got the wrong engine.
Yeah.
I think they've got some
Yep.
wrong fundamental team strategies.
Yeah, they've got some wrong fundamental drivers.
Yeah, I mean Ericsson retired because of that pathetic crash which brought out safety car 3, the third safety car.
Yeah.
The return of the safety cars.
Good lord! I mean, that's 100. That's a
car.
that's a that's 100% record, isn't it, of the safety car appearing at Singapore?
Yeah.
10th race at Singapore, and it's 100%. It appears at every race, but it's the first time we've actually had a wet start to a Singapore race.
It's nice to know they can race in the wet there.
Yeah,
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Spray didn't seem that bad.
It wasn't. The drainage apparently was, according to Virtual Statman, was very good, and
Then it didn't dry, which was
no,
weird.
yeah,
Because
no.
the air was humid.
Humidity. Yeah.
So it didn't dry very much. What they could really have done with doing is, all the cars maybe mandatory being on wet tires just to clear it all a bit more than they did. But
But
teams
the problem
chose
is
to
if
go
they-
with
The
Inters.
problem is, though, if they make it mandatory for all cars to be on wet tyres, the regulations are that the race is going to start behind the safety car.
Yeah,
I wonder why they don't get, like, for just damp track starts, not actually full wet starts when it's raining. I wonder why they don't do what they do in India NASCAR with the rocket-propelled truck.
Because they mainly do that on ovals, and it's a lot easier just to hang it out on one side of the truck and dry the line that way.
No, but you could easily do it on a track.
Oh yeah, you probably could.
It's. I mean, you wouldn't have to use. You wouldn't have to use something like as fucking extreme as they use in Indy. Even just
Well,
a
it
couple of,
depends if Red Bull sponsor it or not.
Well, yeah, of course. But even if they just had a couple of, like, industrial, like, dryers that you see on building sites and things like that, a couple of those aiming down or, like, on an angle onto the circuit on the back of the pickup.
Lee would have
world
missed
of
this
good.
conversation last week, but we were talking about that new Mercedes AMG car that's been released. We were talking
Quite
about
pretty.
the Project 1.
Yeah.
I've seen the pictures of it.
Yeah, it's power ratio 1-to-1 with a Formula 1 car.
That's crazy.
Yes, it is. So it's got a Formula 1 steering wheel
I've
as
seen
well.
it's got a Formula 1 steering wheel.
Yeah, we were discussing because like cases like today, for example, when the safety car had to bunch the field up a little because of Ericsson's accident. They had to bunch the field up so that there was enough time for the marshals to get the crane onto the circuit to lift it off the bridge. So that, so there was a gap of about a minute and a half, 2 minutes for them to be able to do that. What if the safety car, maybe next year or the year after, is one of those Mercedes AMG Project ones where, in cases of where it needs to go a little bit quicker, it really can because its power is 1-to-1 ratio with a Formula 1 car. Obviously, it's not going to be as quick around the whole circuit as a Formula 1 car.
And downforce isn't going to be a 1-to-1 ratio.
No, and that defeats the object of a safety car.
Yeah.
But in places where it can go a bit quicker, it would be interesting to see if Mercedes did put that in.
Do we know if the safety cars are ever reaching the limit of their performance? When they're going slow, is it because
Or are
the
they
cars
driving-
can't go any quicker, or is it because they're going at the appropriate
Martin
speed?
Brundle in commentaries always suggested that when the car looks like it's going slow, that they're on the ragged edge of what the road car can do. That's how it's always been portrayed.
Yeah, on the safe side of the ragged edge. So it'd be awful if a safety car binned it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, it would be stupid if the safety car binned it. But even Brundle sort of suggests that it has to be there to give the Formula 1 cars even a chance of keeping any heat in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, that's what if they use
But
that.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one to think about. Yeah, I mean, Wehrlein, did he saw the checkered flag 2 laps down?
2 laps beyond everyone else.
Because towards the end of the race, and I know we're not talking about these drivers yet either, but Magnussen and Hulkenberg had late retirements, and it took about 3 or 4 minutes for Wehrlein to actually pass the cars that were in the garage 2 laps ahead of him.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Like, Hulkenberg's name was in grey because he'd retired, and Wehrlein was still running. His name was in white underneath Hulkenberg. It took him ages to get past him. So Wehrlein, 12th of 12 finishes.
Yes. Next up, we have Haas. And again, one does all right, one retires.
Yeah, points for Romain Grosjean.
Yeah.
He was hassling the Force Indians at one point as well.
Yeah, we didn't hear a lot of him whining this weekend.
No, good stuff. I mean, he seems to
Or
perform.
whoever's in charge of distributing the radio feeds has just got that bored of him being a whiny little bitch that they've hit the mute button.
I mean, yeah, possibly. The FIA radio people may have changed teams for Singapore, but the good performance from Haas to all right. Okay, fair enough. Only 12 cars finished, but Grosjean to get 9th. Another couple of points for Haas, which is good. Remember this time last year, we were saying, well, they only score points in their first couple of races. They haven't done anything since.
Yeah, I mean, Haas have improved greatly from last year. There is no denying that.
No, and Kevin Magnussen could have done something in this race as well.
If they could get their reliability sorted out, they would have done even more better. Well, it's not reliability, it's consistency. Because it's always one's up, one's down.
I think it's the drivers. I think they need better drivers. I mean, even Kevin Magnussen today looked impressive at times, but it was really weird. Like, before he had his issue and he had to retire, like, he was up to like 9th or 10th because he put the tyres on early. Then you blinked and he was 14th again and second to last.
Yeah,
You know,
he had that issue, didn't he? With
but before the issue, he didn't retire from the points. He retired from being right down. He fell down
He
the
was
order.
12th when he retired, I think.
Yeah, but like he dropped.
But still
dropped
14
down.
runners, I think, when Magnussen retired. But yeah.
So he was still almost last.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
Yeah.
They need better drivers, and like I think we said, not obviously not last week because I wasn't here, but the week before when I was here, I think the fact that they've signed both of them up for another year is such an uninspired choice.
It's as grey as the livery.
Yeah, it's not playing it safe.
Consistency isn't a bad thing.
But they're not consistent.
They're the same drivers driving with the same style every week.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that their results are consistent, but the way they drive is consistent. So if they can make the car better with those drivers, and then get in a top level driver a year or two down the line.
Maybe not even a top level driver. If you picked one of them, whichever one you think was the best, I would probably plumb for Grosjean out of the two of them. And then go.
If I was Haas, I'd probably try putting Giovinazzi in the second car. To be quite honest with you,
Who's your man, Ferrari man?
Charles Leclerc,
Yeah,
Giovinazzi.
turn around to Ferrari and say, "Do you want to put him in here?"
Yeah, well, Charles Leclerc is probably going to go to Sauber for next year.
I'm sure Ferrari prefer to put him in a Haas than a Sauber.
Possibly. But first year in Formula One, just give him a go with a Sauber, see how he is. Because next year, don't forget, Sauber do get current year engines, not year-old engines.
Tell you what, for Haas, perfect driver for Haas for next year would be Massa.
Wouldn't be a bad idea. Someone with a lot of experience who could probably help them develop the car.
Ties to Ferrari in the past,
And it would also give you a good indication of assessing whether it's worth keeping Grosjean around anymore.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, if Massa comes in and starts handing it to Grosjean, then it's time to look at him, or hopefully he elevates. Because what you'd really want is him to come in and be at the same level as Grosjean, or Grosjean to be better than Massa. But
you'd hope that Grosjean would be better than Massa.
Yeah, it's like they're breeding number twos.
Sorry, I've just got this bizarre idea of a Grosjean farm.
Yeah.
Breeding number twos in more ways than one.
Factory farming of Grosjeans must cease.
Yeah.
They should be allowed to roam free and wild.
You know when you go in a chicken coop like a factory farm and all the chickens and you hear that noise, like the cacophony of clucking, it would be that, but complaints.
Brakes! Brakes! I've got no power!
Right, Williams next. And I'm going squeaky again.
You are.
My voice is breaking, just like Lance Stroll's.
Ah.
See what I did there?
You've seen quite a solid performance from young Lance at a quite difficult street circuit in difficult conditions.
He's not bad in the wet.
He appears to be okay, doesn't he, when the rain comes down? I was expecting him to crash all over the place, much like I was in Azerbaijan. But I mean, he proved us wrong in Azerbaijan by being quite consistent, and he's
not the crashy liability that we thought he was going to be on his first day of the Barcelona test.
Exactly, and the an 8th place in Singapore. All right, again, only 12 cars finished, but both Williams cars finished, and they were looking slow.
They were looking slow in the first couple of days, first couple of tests. In the race, there were a lot of cars dropped out, but they were running well.
And they fought for places as well.
Yeah, we actually got to see overtakes from the Williams, which, to be honest, if you looked at qualifying yesterday, you wouldn't have thought that was going to be a thing.
Well,
because
we've seen this, haven't we?
They go out in Q1.
We've seen this a couple of times, haven't we? Now through the year. Well, I mean, let's not pretend that all of a sudden they were really competitive today. But we've seen a few times that they've done really poorly in qualifying, and then actually turned up with a pretty decent race car.
Yeah, so they have piss poor 1 lap pace,
Yeah.
but good race pace, and I don't quite understand how you can do that.
No, it must be heating the tyres up. It's got to be something to do with tyre temperatures.
And,
Yeah,
I think Williams have realised that, there's no point in sacrificing race pace for single lap pace. So let's just always concentrate on our race pace.
Absolutely.
We can qualify really well, but it's just that by the end of lap 3, we'll have lost 5 places each.
Yeah, and we can finish 17th and 18th, or we can qualify 17th and 18th.
And then make the most of what we can get from
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
And the numbers obviously work out well for doing that with sod qualifying.
But that's
let's try and get something out of the race.
But that can't be a long-term thing. The Williams can't look to next year to do that again. They need to step it up and be pushing for good qualifying. I mean, they've got a Mercedes engine, for God's sake.
Oh, they should be where Red Bull. Can you imagine where McLaren would be, or Force India? Oh, not Force India's got one, but where McLaren would be with that engine?
Well, the Mercedes engine, yeah, probably be around Red Bull.
I think it'd be ahead of Red Bull,
Yeah.
or with Red Bull, they'd have somebody to battle with every weekend.
Yeah, and points probably quite consistently.
And on the days like Red Bull, like here or Hungary or something like that, the Mercedes would probably have something else to think about as well.
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah.
Do you know what I do think is funny? I think it's dead funny that people are saying, oh, well, next year they should be up with Red Bulls and stuff like that with McLaren. Who's saying that Renault won't make another jump next year and all of a sudden their power unit be equal to Ferrari and Mercedes?
Yeah.
There's every possibility of that.
Yeah, Renault have
Especially
built
with
championship-winning engines before.
Especially with them having their own team, and focusing solely on that as well. They're going to want to produce the power unit that their own team can do well with. But if they happen
their own team are doing better this year already.
Oh yeah,
so,
they are. Yeah,
so they're going to be up there next year potentially.
absolutely.
Renault's the most improved car of this year.
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely.
If you take out that like 30 seconds Red Bull made up of when they had their between the car that started Australia and then the B spec car that came.
Red Bull have gone from being the third best team to being the third best team.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've
But
got
a lot better.
Yeah, they
Whereas
got
Renault have gone from way back there to
30 seconds back to being 10 seconds back.
Yeah.
As Dan says, Renault have gone from being 15th
back of the midfield teams to
14th,
one
15th.
of the front of the midfield teams.
Yeah.
Next year I think they're going to be even better because then they'll have got a year as Renault under the belt. Because
And then if they build that,
at the start of last year,
if they build that power unit and it suits a McLaren chassis, then like Lee says, Alonso and Van Dorn suddenly 8/10 quicker, in Australia or something like that. It's completely possible. At the moment, it's quite far fetched, but it's completely possible.
We wouldn't have thought that that the Renault engine for where it was last year, because it was it the big bust up with Red Bull last year? That was the year before, wasn't it?
Year before.
Yeah. But you wouldn't have thought
it was kind of the fallout from it last year when it suddenly became tag.
Yeah, you wouldn't have thought from that point though, where like Renault totally fucked up the hybrid part of their car, like Honda have done for the past few years. Yeah. You wouldn't have thought that from there in 2 years' time, they'd be potential race winners at certain circuits. because they didn't look like they were going to start.
Yeah.
You're on pace without shenanigans.
Yeah.
Because realistically, on Saturday, I know it's not the way it turned out today. Might have been different if Verstappen had been in the race and and Ricardo maybe didn't have this gearbox issue that apparently he had.
Yeah, but on Saturday it looked like they could win.
Yeah, on with raw pace and
Yeah.
not shenanigans.
Yeah, we are going to see a Renault engine go faster than everything else.
Yeah.
It's McLaren next on the list. Poor Fernando.
Fernando Alonso was second place going into turn 1. Well, third place going into turn 1. Had he avoided that incident, who knows what would have happened? I think it could have been a Fernando podium.
He says that they were on for a podium
Yeah.
with what he thinks the car had for race pace.
And
I
I'm
think they
surprised
would
he continued when you saw the amount of damage to that car afterwards
I don't think he knew there was half a side pod missing.
and his floor.
Yeah.
I think it's just because he could see how crazy the race was going to be.
But I mean, he did.
I mean, maybe he was expecting a red flag, so they might have been able to work on the car.
Yeah, I mean, he stayed out of everyone's way, and unfortunately, just got tagged as Raikkonen out of control, hit Max Verstappen, who then ploughed into Alonso. I don't see Ferrari tweeting anything about that. Did you?
Yeah.
No.
Ironically, a McLaren was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and
At the front of the
the
circuit.
wrong place was
Yeah.
at the front.
Yeah, the wrong place was in front of Raikkonen and Verstappen, and behind Vettel and Hamilton.
Do you want to know the terrible thing? Do you know the awful thing?
Go on.
I had a $5 on for a win and a podium.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a 5 wrong for a podium.
I had a $5 on for a podium.
I didn't bet.
It would have been $2,000 if he won.
Nice. That'd have been really posh biscuits.
Yeah, it would have been well posh. But you know what? I might have even got his pizza.
Whoa.
But the thing is, if it had rained like it rained all race, there's lots of ifs here. If it rained like it did at the beginning for the whole of the race, and Fernando had avoided any incident, there was a real strong chance that the McLaren could have finished very, very strongly. Podium certainly was possible. He still now believes, he's posted on Instagram since the race and said that there could have been P2 at the end of lap 1.
2020 though, isn't it?
Probably,
But,
yeah. But I mean, it could have been P2 at the end of lap 1, and who knows what would have happened after that.
Yeah.
The target was to score the team's first podium since Alonso returned, and it wasn't to be. Although, positive notes, Stoffel Van Dorn, quite racy today. Overtaking, fighting with cars that McLaren probably shouldn't be fighting with.
Yeah.
At other circuits.
Launched one on Bottas, didn't he, at the beginning
Absolutely.
of the race?
Sent one up the inside of Bottas after the safety car restart. And we saw a McLaren genuinely pass a Mercedes without the aid of DRS or anything on track. So Stoffel Van Dorn, brilliant. He's growing. He had a bit of a shaky start to his Formula One career. I don't think he was used to not having a good car. But he's...
I think as Formula One fans, we've been spoiled with people like
Hamilton.
Sainz,
Yeah.
Hamilton,
Verstappen.
who are really, really good from day one.
Yeah. Whereas you get people like Stroll and Van Dorn, who you come into the sport and you think, well, there's a lot of hype about them, and then all of a sudden, they don't produce instantly.
Yeah, don't forget that Stoffel did produce instantly.
But
He was the
last
first
year.
McLaren points last year. Yeah.
He was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I mean, so did Kevin Magnussen.
But he's growing. Well, the point I'm trying to make is Van Dorn has grown in confidence with every race, and is now got to the point where he is. I think he would have been up and around where Alonso was.
Next year's
Had
the
they
test
both
for him.
finished.
Next
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
see what you can do with another full season. Personally, I believe that, especially certainly in modern Formula One, and realistically, I'm thinking back towards sort of Senna time as well. I can't think of a slow boil world champion.
Hakkinen didn't come in and...
Jenson Button.
Maybe Jensen, but again, I think Jensen looked the part in the
The
Williams when he came into Williams. He looked the part, but the car wasn't quite the part.
In the early part of his career, he looked like he could potentially win races and be a world champion. But then when he went, after like 3 or 4 years went by and he still hadn't won a race, and it was like maybe not.
Yeah, well, I think that was that then he becomes well, or like what Hulkenberg has been for years as well, isn't it? With the right car, he could probably win a world championship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was proven to be the case.
Yeah.
But
Hakkinen, I don't think came
But
in and
Hakkinen
blew
came in-
everyone away.
he did though, didn't he? He came in really strong before,
Yeah.
and then his accident happened.
Hakkinen's very first ever qualifying session, he was a rookie at McLaren, and his teammate was Ayrton Senna. And after the qualifying session, he was one place ahead of Ayrton Senna. And Senna demanded to look at Hakkinen's telemetry because Senna was like godlike in McLaren at the time. He looked at Hakkinen's telemetry and couldn't understand how Hakkinen had gone through a certain set of corners so quickly. And so he confronted Mika Hakkinen about this. His young teammate.
You boy, come here.
I said, I want to know how you went that quickly through the corners, and his response was Sisu, which is Finnish for courage. So that literally, he basically said, "I've got bigger balls than you," to Ayrton Senna on his first day at McLaren. So yeah, Hakkinen was at McLaren. He did quite well, but where his Lotus, when he was driving for Lotus, I don't think he was particularly.
Well, the Lotus wasn't particularly at the time.
Yeah.
No.
You know, it was. He was there at the end of Lotus.
92 Lotus, which, let's be honest, not real Lotus.
No.
Yeah, it's just, I don't think at the minute, we'll have to see next year, but I don't see anything from Stoffel Van Dorn that doesn't just scream fine Formula One driver,
Race winner.
possibly podium winner.
Yeah.
Race wins would certainly depend upon the car. I see nothing that doesn't shout Bottas.
Perez quality, Bottas quality.
Yeah. And that there's nothing wrong with that. And people like Felipe Massa still in Formula One today. But I think it's just the fact that he was like billed as this guy is the tits on fire.
But yeah, remember
riding
as
a
well,
sled.
Van Dorn is the last of the Ron Dennis era McLaren drivers to make Formula One.
Yeah. But Magnussen was part of that driver program as well, which leads me to believe that up until I don't know, we'll have to see what Lando Norris is like.
Which I guess the last one from the Ron Dennis era that may make it into Formula One would really be Nick De Vries, if he gets that far.
Who?
Nick De Vries.
The GP2 driver.
Yeah, he's a Ron protege.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, don't you remember? He was in Tuned when Ron was, and that was in the days when Ron was still in charge.
Well, you've got who else? I mean, don't forget you've got.
But Lando Norris
the
is more
ginger
like
lad, the ginger lad. Is it Oliver Turvey?
Who never made it to Formula
Never
One.
made it to Formula One. He was part of he was one of Ron Dennis's handpicked mans. Gary Paffett barely left the fucking car park. They didn't even take the stabilizers off that lad.
Yeah, he did okay in DTM with Mercedes, but as a McLaren young driver,
Yeah.
he actually got shipped back to when Mercedes McLaren ended their partnership. He was on the Mercedes side of things, so that's why he doesn't he actually do some work. Doesn't he do some work for Williams now, Gary
I think
Paffett?
he's gone to work for Williams. He must have escaped through the window or something.
Right. Well, we have Renault next. Another. I'm going to go for the football cliche. Game of two halves.
Hulkenberg pitting to put hydraulic fluid back into his system.
No, it was air. It was a pneumatic system.
Was it
problem.
air?
Yeah. Never seen that before.
Compressed air back into the system. See, the thing is, if you've got an air leak, putting compressed air in doesn't help.
No.
Because compressed air is not going to remain compressed. But if you've got a small fluid leak that you can maybe manage with fluid, fair enough. But air is just going to go where it wants to go.
Yeah. And
It
he
depends
was.
how small the leak is.
But if the air's that compressed, then that small leak could become bigger when you're putting a lot of air in there, which then expands.
I'm going to
basically,
trust.
it's the pneumatic equivalent of a slow puncture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, which is pneumatic
That's
as well.
pneumatic.
Yeah, which means you can put air in and get away with it for a while.
I'm going to
Yeah.
end this conversation and say let's trust the Formula One engineers.
Probably.
That's probably a very good idea.
I think it was a guess. I think it was just put more thing in it and see if that works.
It didn't.
No.
It's a shame. He could have been on for his first podium.
But now he has the record.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they never had to stick extra air in when Grosjean was driving it.
Hulkenberg now holds the record for the driver with the most races without a podium.
Well, big.
Well done, Nico.
Does he get a trophy for that?
Who did
Yeah, it says Le Mans 24-hour winner on it.
solo class? Who did he take that from, Lee?
I heard this today. Was it Pedro Diniz? Not Pedro Diniz.
Adrian Sutil.
Adrian Sutil. So I knew it was someone like that.
Yeah, we want to thank Sean for that one from last week.
Yeah.
However, on the other side of the garage, Jolyon Palmer, nosebleed time. On the weekend that he finds out that he's not going to be driving for Renault anymore,
Which means
after this season.
It's a good job he's got that Autosport subscription.
Yeah, or maybe sooner. Well, he did find out through Autosport, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gets a 6th. His second points finish.
the pressure's off, and
Yeah,
all of a sudden he
and,
performs.
Not 11th.
Do you think he performs better when there's no pressure on? Like, I mean, it took him till his 4th year in GP2 to win the title, and that's quite unheard of in itself. But
He got his act together when it was pretty much a given last year that he lost his seat.
yeah, he only works when the pressure's off. So now he's trying to drive to impress again, and there's no pressure on him at all. He's got 6 races where, let's be honest, if he finishes 6th in half of the remaining races, then it would be really difficult for a team like Williams, if Massa's seat becomes available, to say no to him, or at least to not consider him.
Yeah. Apart from you probably want someone with more experience than Palmer in the Williams.
Correct. Yeah, you probably want somebody who's not going to, who's going to be able to lead that team, which is why Massa came back, because of course
Yeah.
Stroll can't lead.
Williams needs someone, regardless of the over 25 thing. Williams needs someone with at least 4 to 5 years, absolute minimum, if they're getting rid of Massa.
Yeah, I would say so.
And Palmer just doesn't have the experience. He's got 2 years of F1 as a driver, 1 year as a number 3.
Yeah.
You can't do that. There's no leadership in the team.
Yeah, and you can't bank on Lance Stroll to be a number 1 driver just yet.
No.
Not yet. He may be
No.
ready for it one day, but
He's not now.
not in his second season.
No.
Let's face it. Like if I'm saying Stoffel Van Dorn's only got the hope of becoming like a good, decent mid-grid driver, of a Bottas level, then essentially Stroll's aim is going to be Magnussen.
No, I don't agree with you there.
No.
I think Stroll came into Formula One too early. I think he's going to come good.
Yeah.
The reason I think that is he's good in the wet.
Race winner good? Oh, yeah, I know. I'll go with you on that.
Yeah.
Guys that tend to be good in the wet. Vettel was quite good in the wet
Yeah.
once as well. Yeah. No, actually,
Senna won his first race in the wet.
yeah.
I think Stroll has got the potential to be an Olivier Panis, troubling the points occasionally and picking up a win when it's pissing it down.
Possibly.
Maybe I see.
I think he's got the potential to be an actual solid driver, like
It depends on your seat as well,
at
doesn't it?
Jenson Button level. Someone who is genuinely good, maybe not your Hamiltons, your Verstappens, Sennas, Schumachers, but second tier, really good driver.
Now, Dan, I was with you for a second, but then you had to go and bring my JB.
I said
into
the
it.
B word. But no, I think he's got the potential, and he's getting better every race.
Yeah, that's fine. And I don't think he's the worst driver on the grid now. Whereas at the beginning of the season, I thought he might be.
While there's Magnussen, nobody. While there's Ericsson, nobody will be the worst driver on the grid.
I think.
No, Stroll at the start of the year wasn't good.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah, but Stroll couldn't have been the worst driver on the grid, mainly because when he tried to get around to the grid, he usually turned it backwards and shoved it into a wall. So to be on the grid, you've got to get to the grid.
True. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, I do think though, when you get somebody like Stroll, where there's a few question marks hanging over him, it does make for interesting stuff. It's because you want to see how he's going to do.
But going back to Palmer, basically what he's got now between here and the end of the season is an audition for another team to come in and get him.
Yeah.
There's no teams though, is there?
That's the problem. This is where he is going to struggle because there is maybe a seat at Williams.
Possibly a seat at
Possibly
Sauber.
a Sauber drive,
I
yeah.
was going to say possibly a Sauber drive.
Because I don't think Ericsson is a shoe-in for that.
Not with what Fred Vasseur's been saying, and they've taken on more staff as well.
Pascal Wehrlein's probably going to be edged out. Mercedes have confirmed, haven't they, that he's going to be DTM for the last year of...
They haven't confirmed it, but they've not denied it.
Yeah, because of course DTM is not going to be a thing anymore.
Yeah. There might be a seat in Sauber if Fred Vasseur can get Ericsson out of the way.
I think there's a chance that Mercedes might pull the plug on the Wehrlein project.
I don't know. He's won DTM before. They might put him in other series.
Yeah,
They
but
can
not.
put him in
But I mean, in the Formula One sense,
Possibly. I mean, he might come back after that year at DTM. He might be a reserve driver at
Is
Williams.
happening, is he going to DTM next year?
That's where the smart money is.
DTM is finishing. There's no more DTM after next year.
So they're going to send
Pascal Wehrlein back to DTM.
Is that, and that's a thing?
It's looking.
That's
like
not
it.
official.
It's not official.
No, I haven't
but
heard
yeah.
anything about that.
Yeah, Pascal Wehrlein back to DTM for one last season. Well, the last season of
Yeah.
DTM, because he was he champion at DTM?
2015 champion.
2014 possibly champion at DTM. One of the, I think, youngest DTM champion ever. And
It's a big demotion, though.
but it's nostalgic as well. So I think after the year at
Don't think he'll see it as nostalgic.
probably not. But I mean,
I
after
think-
the year at DTM, he could be Williams' reserve driver. Depending on where Ocon is, there may be a seat available at Force India for him.
Yeah.
I could see him in sort of a similar role to what the rest is doing now at Williams. You'll see him in the paddocks with his Williams shirt on or whatever, or
So
I think he's the same level of driver as Ocon is. So I think he
he's too
deserves a drive, and he
Yeah.
deserves.
I think Ocon looked better with less time. That's the only difference.
I think Ocon looked as good with less time.
Sorry, yeah. So yeah, I just meant I agree with that. But the I suppose the smart money then would be that one of those Sauber seats is going to go to your British lad. What's his name? Mercedes guy.
Well, no, the Sauber seats are probably going to be taken. If Ericsson goes, Ferrari want
Oh, Leclerc.
Yeah,
Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc is
Yeah.
almost certainly getting one of them.
and Giovinazzi probably in the other one, because Ferrari are going to be supplying current year engines to Sauber. So as part
I
of the
think
deal,
Sauber would have free choice of one driver. They're not going to have both drivers forced on them by Ferrari.
they might even choose to say, "Excuse me, can we have both of your drivers?"
They might do.
Yeah, because Giovinazzi is a Ferrari reserve driver.
I believe so.
I
yes.
don't think Sauber have an official reserve driver this year, do they?
No. Which is why Giovinazzi stepped in when Verlaine was out injured.
Yeah, because he was the only one available to.
It was the only one with a super license that was available.
Ah,
And did a reasonable job in the first Grand Prix and a less reasonable job in the second one.
Yeah, practiced well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only way you can describe it.
well,
Yeah.
Giovinazzi was in a Haas, wasn't he, in Hungary?
Yeah,
I put that in the wall.
he's doing another 4 or 5 tests before the end of the season. FP1s.
Yeah,
Haas before the end of the season. But trying to get back to Parma, he's gonna have to go somewhere, and I think he'll just end up probably in Formula E.
Formula E or on Sky as a pundit, or Channel 4.
Yeah, Channel 4 don't have live races, they'll only have highlights next year.
Ah, well, there you go.
Force India next then. We have a double points scoring team, one of only 2.
Which is quite impressive, actually.
Yes.
Given that Force India have actually been struggling across the weekend in Singapore.
Yeah, they didn't look themselves, but again the race it just seemed to come to them.
I thought I was going to see an incident before the race between the Force Indias when they both lined up next to each other at the end of the pit lane to practice their starts. I was like, oh God, no, they're not even going to make it to the grid. They're going to crash into each other. But that didn't happen. Ocon finishing a fairway.
Ocon was lackluster, wasn't he? When you look at where Perez was.
He had a bit of a race. I think Ocon didn't get quite as good a start as Perez.
Did they split their tyre strategies?
Yeah,
was
they
one
did.
of them on intermediates and one on wets?
I think so.
And the wets weren't the right tyre for
That's
most
it.
of the race.
If you're gonna if you're going to split your strategy, you're going to get wrong with one, aren't you?
Yeah.
Ocon,
That's the only
Yeah.
problem.
Ocon did manage to
Well,
embarrass.
actually no, because Sauber split their strategy and
Got it wrong for
Got both
Yeah,
wrong.
but they got it wrong and wronger.
Yeah,
Yeah, wrong and wronger. That's a great name for Sauber, isn't it? Wrong and wronger. But the Force Indias, Ocon was part of that three-way fight, wasn't he? Was it Magnussen, Hulkenberg, and Ocon?
Yeah, it was
Where-
a great little scrap, that.
Yeah, and Ocon just took both of them in the space of about 200 yards. Which was like, I'll have both of you now.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, he's a great little racer, Esteban Ocon. He really is. I know Mercedes has signed Bottas for 2018, but...
they're keeping Ocon at Force India.
Yeah, they're keeping Ocon at Force India. That's the thing. I honestly think that when one of those seats becomes available at Mercedes, whether it be Hamilton or Bottas, I think Ocon is the next in line.
Yeah,
for
Ocon I would
the
now
Mercedes
say
seat.
Ocon is now ahead of Verline in the pecking order.
Oh yeah,
for
he has been for a while, I think.
who's going to move up to the big team. Perez, of course, confirmed that he's staying at Force India for next season as well this morning.
Yes.
Which came as a surprise because after the way that they've been, in the words of one driver, trying to kill each other.
Yeah, but they may not be Force India next year. Don't forget.
Force One.
Yeah, they could be Force One. Force One is something that's been registered, and also calling themselves F1 in F1. Is that clever or is it silly?
I
Team
think it's
F1 and
silly.
F1.
Yeah, I think it's
Force
silly.
One. But they want to get rid of the India tag.
Well, yeah, somebody wants to rename this podcast 3 Leagues 4 Wheels.
That's right. Apart from there's only one Lee. There'll only ever be one Lee.
One Lee, 3 legs, 4 wheels.
We're gonna have to cut the name down. It's too long. Just get rid of the 3 legs 4 wheels. One Lee.
One Lee, one mission, one podcast.
Gimme fried chicken. Queen reference.
Yes, it was.
But yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised when basically between Bob Firmly and Otmar Schnafneuer, they have sorted out the problems between the drivers, and it looks like I won't say everything's rosy in the Force India team, but there's not as much out and out despisation of each.
Well,
other.
no, Ocon and Perez did get within DRS of each other at one point, and the solution to that was pull the lead Force India driver into the pits.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what they did.
Yeah.
So there was no on-track action between them. And as I say, Ocon finishing 10th, grabbing a point. Great result for him. Because let's not forget, this is still his first full season in Formula 1. All right, he's done the back half of the season already before last year for Mano. But this is his first full season in Formula 1, and he's picking up points on a regular basis.
His first full season in a car that's anywhere near good as well.
Yeah,
It's
and
where he has to perform.
Yeah, but he is performing. He's picking up
Yeah,
points
yeah.
on a regular basis. Perez, who's been around now for a fair few years, 5th place. Great result for Force India, I think. 5th place.
Yeah.
Yeah, considering they'd not been there all weekend.
Yeah, if he'd offered 5th and 10th to Force India and not told them which driver would be in which position, I think they'd snap.
They'd have bitten your hand off.
Yeah, I think they'd snapped your arm off.
Schnafneuered you.
All the Mercedes teams seem to do a lot better in the race than practice and qualifying would have suggested.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't wonder if there was some sort of setup. That, well, we think it's going to be the conditions different in the race, so let's set up for the race.
Quite possibly.
Who knows?
Yeah, here's the best engine mode to use. You're gonna
For the race.
You're
You're
gonna be
gonna
out
suck.
of position in qualifying.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you will suck on Friday and Saturday, but Sunday you should be there.
Yeah, it should be all right.
right, Toro Rosso next. Kvyat finished the race in the barrier.
Kvyat was I don't know. Did he
absent? Really, wasn't he?
Did he outbrake himself? Because he just overtaken, I think, the guy we were just talking about, Esteban Ocon.
Yeah.
He overtook Ocon. We were like, oh, wow. Well done,
Yeah.
Danny Kvyat.
Yeah,
And
Kvyat's
then,
on a charge and then yellow flags. What the hell's going on? hang on,
Kvyat's in the
back
barrier. Yeah.
I think he can't believe his luck. Can't believe his luck that Carlos Sainz is going to Renault next year, and it's all too much for him because he's realised he's going to spend another year in Formula One that he probably wasn't going to.
Well, Shah made a good point, didn't he, during the race when we saw that Kvyat was in the barrier. So is now a good time to mention that Danny Kvyat's girlfriend is Kelly Piquet, who is Nelson Piquet Jr.'s sister.
Is it?
We know what happens when PKs and barriers at Singapore happen.
Yes.
Alonso wins.
Yes.
But but he has nothing to do with any of that.
Well, Spanish
course
people.
not.
Should we just say Spanish people do well? And look at where Carlos Sainz finished.
Yeah, and there's very little mention of Pat Simmons during the course of the weekend because Sky didn't have him there this weekend.
Probably still banned from the country.
Yeah, he's probably persona non grata in Singapore.
For creating Crashgate.
Yeah. But Sainz, wow.
Boom
Help
shakalak.
Boom shakalak as him or his engineer said on the radio.
Engineer, yeah.
Not only did he get fourth, but he was on the super soft tyres when everyone else was on the ultras, and his times were comparable to everyone on the softer compound.
I think it's because he didn't have to manage his tyres so much because obviously we heard a radio message from Bono to Lewis Hamilton at one point saying that you don't have to go so quick, just make sure the pack is all nicely bunched up. I think that was as much to do with tyre management as well as a strategy call on pit stops if there was another safety car. So it was basically win as slowly as you can, which is what Mercedes are very good at. But
Except when they want Lewis not to win as slow as he can and win as fast as he can, but then he goes slow.
yeah, and then Sainz in fourth place he didn't have to worry about his tyres at all. He could just push as hard as he wanted to, and I don't know if he was hassling Bottas ahead of him at all at any point.
No, not really. He was just sort of running his own race.
And sort of
I
trying to
think
fend off.
Perez was up behind him.
Yeah, fending off Perez for a while,
Yeah.
but I think that got nullified after that last safety car.
Yeah.
But no, I mean they were ecstatic with fourth place. Did you say something about Carlos Sainz has asked his flights to be switched from?
Yeah, he asked his manager to switch his flights to Monday, so he can go out and party because he's still on European time. So even though it was midnight in Singapore when he crossed the line, as far as he was concerned, it was about 3:30 in the afternoon. He wanted to tag one on for at least the next 8 hours.
Just almost unrelated thing. I just would like to point out that the gene pool for the PK family is fucking ace.
Have you just been googling Kelly PK?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what you do to her barriers.
No,
please.
to be fair, no, they like Nelson Piquet Jr. is a handsome motherfucker as well.
He looks just like his dad.
Yeah, but I mean, that scar's a bit weird. But apart from that, if you can Photoshop that scar out, that's a handsome boy.
I think he got the scar when his parents did battle with Briatore Voldemort. Every time Flavio's in the paddock, his scar hurts.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I mean, Sainz has basically had it all this weekend. He gets the announcement that he's going to be driving for a works team, which is what he wants.
On loan, which is an
Albeit on loan.
odd one. Yeah.
But he still gets to sit in a works team.
Yeah, and if something happens with the Red Bull main team, he's to be shipped back to Red Bull, which
Yeah.
is essentially he's a Red Bull main driver next year. But because there aren't 3 Red Bull cars, he's driving a Renault
It's
works
just
car.
that he's going to be driving a yellow Red Bull.
But isn't this? Couldn't this be awful for him?
In what manner?
Well, let's think that.
Gasly's shit.
Well, your Renault reckoned they wanted to be back winning races and battling for championships by 2019.
2019 race wins, 2020 championship.
Right. So let's say he has a year in Renault next year where they're just getting their act together. One or both of the Red Bull drivers decide to fuck off, and he gets dragged back to an influx Red Bull team that's still waiting for an Aston Martin engine.
And having to put up with a Honda, which probably isn't going to work in the Toro Rosso next year.
Well, and will be in the back of a Red Bull in 2019 because
It's more or less confirmed.
Yeah, because Renault want rid of the Renault are ready for the split, I suppose, because they're supplying an extra team.
Yeah,
they fell out with Red Bull.
I think the only thing that could save Carlos Sainz in that situation is Renault saying, okay, then we'll give you an extra 2 years on the engines. Carlos is ours.
Yeah, Nicholas Latifi is
Maybe.
impressing quite a bit in the Renault, isn't he? The young French is he French Canadian?
Yeah.
The young French Canadian driver. So if he's quite impressive in young driver tests, because we know he's doing Renault young driver tests. Sainz is driving for Renault. Turns out Pierre Gasly's really shit in the Toro Rosso.
Do Renault offer Red Bull Ollie Rowland as well? Because they own him.
Possibly, but I was thinking more along the lines of it comes to Russia next year and they have to turf Gasly out because he's abysmal. I'm just speculating here. We don't know that Gasly's abysmal. He might be really good. And then
So Gasly...
Carlos, we need you back in that Toro Rosso.
Gasly's really good, and Kvyat is struggling under the pressure of having a good teammate.
I'd like to think that because of given the fact that there's engines and stuff
But
like
can they call him back to Toro Rosso? That's my concern with that.
I would guess that Renault would have that tied down to it.
I think it would make sense if they could only call him up to actual real Red Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Toro Rosso.
Yeah. I think it's a similar deal to what happened with Verstappen, isn't it? Verstappen had to become a Red Bull driver, otherwise he was allowed to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
So maybe this making him a full Red Bull driver, but he's being sent to Renault, might be a sneaky contract way of extending his contract.
Yeah, because I mean, what the thing that I think it was Christian Horner had been saying about Sainz is we have an option on him which we are taking up for 2018. Is it now they've called him a Red Bull driver for 2018? It's like, oh, in that case, if you're going to call me a main Red Bull driver, you can have me for another 3 years.
I think Red Bull knows one or two of their drivers are going after next year.
Well,
Isn't Danny's contract up at the end of next year?
as well as Max's.
Oh, both of them at the
both,
same time.
both are up at exactly the same time.
I thought Max had an extra year on
No,
his
they
contract.
both. No, the thing is, they've both got performance clauses in.
Yeah.
And it's also based on what the performance is projected to be in the following season.
Ah.
Now, if this Toro Rosso Honda turns out to be McLaren Honda just with a blue car instead of a black and orange one,
Yeah.
then Verstappen is going to be allowed to walk out if the Honda engines are going in the back of the Red Bull, because his contract says this is going to be a dog next year. I don't have to drive it.
Well,
That's how I heard it. On Friday.
I think both the contracts are up because there was talks that Verstappen has already signed with Ferrari
to replace Kimi.
after next year. But I find that strange because surely if Vettel doesn't want a Fernando Alonso, he doesn't want a Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I would have thought Vettel's preferred teammate, because it's obvious that Vettel's got a preferred teammate clause in his contract, and I would have thought Vettel's preferred teammate out of the two Red Bull drivers would be Danny Rick, just so he can beat him this time round.
But would he though? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because up against him in the same car, the young buck Danny Ricciardo made a bit of a fool of Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah,
at Red Bull.
absolutely.
Yeah, the 4 time I think he said it best himself. You know, he came into Formula One in the HRT team. Then he was in Toro Rosso for a couple of years. Then the seat became available at Red Bull, and he got it because there was a lot of speculation, if you remember, at the time, as to who would get Webber's seat at Red Bull, and obviously it turned out to be Danny Rick. That year, Red Bull won 3 races, and it was Danny Ricciardo that won all 3 races. He said, well, I think some people expected me to come into this team as the new Australian boy, sit there and be quiet and watch what the world champion does. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think for a second Ricciardo going to Ferrari would do anything like that. I think he'd go to Ferrari with the aim of being like, I'm going to Ferrari and I'm going to show.
I don't think Daniel Ricciardo's the one that go to Ferrari. I think it's Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I think it would be.
And I think Daniel. I will.
He said he wouldn't go to Ferrari to be a princess.
Are we going
Ricciardo's
to
already
Mercedes
said that.
now? Can we talk about Mercedes?
Well, we'll talk about Red Bull. We'll talk about Mercedes in a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, right, sorry, I thought we were on that. But yeah, it's just the fact that I don't think Bottas is doing enough. I think he's done enough to get a seat for next year. But if he does this job next year, he's not doing his job. He's not even a good wingman at the minute.
Well, that's the thing. Bottas has got a deal for next year because there's not as many good drivers available in 2018 as there will be in 2019.
Yeah. The best place to replace Bottas was Bottas.
Yeah.
It depends on what Mercedes want. If they want the driver two thing, Bottas could be there for a few years. Yeah.
No, but I don't think he's good. I don't think. Sorry, I shouldn't say. I don't think he's good.
They need
enough.
the number 2 driver to come second.
Yeah.
And
But
not third.
Let's face it here.
Or 8th.
But Bottas couldn't catch and overtake Daniel Ricciardo with a problem.
Yeah.
and that is a problem.
Yeah, Bottas himself after the race said he
Yeah.
was struggling with grip.
No, but Lewis Hamilton on
No, he didn't,
on old tyres, when everyone else stopped,
Yeah,
on old tyres he pulled a 2-second gap out in 2 laps.
yeah,
When Daniel Ricciardo was on fresh inters.
yeah. And Red Bull have been pissing all over Mercedes all weekend.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there's a massive part of Lewis Hamilton's race is Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
And it's less about the car and more about the man. But even so, if his car is capable of doing that, then Bottas should have at least been on the fucking rear wing of Ricciardo.
Yeah, and Ricciardo was pulling a gap to Bottas as well.
Well, apparently managing a gearbox
issue.
issue for an hour and a half.
Yeah. But we've already spoken about what happened to Max Verstappen in the race. Can't say more. Can't say a lot more other than, what he said. Basically, it was over 200 meters after the start.
Yeah.
So, but Daniel Ricciardo does tend to pull a good result out when it's. I mean, that's was it 4th podium in a row again? That's like the 2nd streak of 4 podiums he's had. Red Bull with those 2 Mercedes and those 2 Ferraris being that dominant early season, there shouldn't have been room for 8 podiums for Daniel Ricciardo this year.
No.
But there has been.
I think Daniel Ricciardo is one of the best drivers on the grid.
I think he is too.
Easily.
Yeah.
And
Well, we said before, you got your top tier, top 3,
Yeah.
probably Hamilton, Vettel, Alonso. They're the best 3 drivers in the world. Then 2nd tier, you've got at the top of that tier probably Ricciardo.
I don't know where he got the 4th podium in a row. He came 4th in Italy.
I do
damn you,
apologise then.
Flood. Damn you.
Damn me.
Get out.
Well,
6. I mean, it's his 7th podium of the season.
7th podium
but
season.
it still stands. There shouldn't have been room for him to be on the podium 7 times.
No.
Yeah, half the races he's finished on the podium.
Yeah.
In the 3rd best car on the grid, which realistically, that makes it either the 5th or 6th
Yeah.
best car in the race.
Say why? Because
But he's won a race. He won in Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
he's got fucking Jenson Button racecraft and fucking Lewis Hamilton's speed. That's how he can do it.
And he's got the attitude of he's got the personality of Valentino Rossi.
Yeah.
And the attitude of, I don't know, when it comes to Ayrton Senna, when it comes to racing.
Yeah. Joe, he was Renault's first
race-
choice. With on the deals.
Was he?
Yeah, he was Renault's first choice, and he was asked in a pit interview during practice, like, how do you feel about being the first choice for Renault when they were looking for a driver in their engine negotiations? He said, "Well, I'm not surprised. I'm really handsome and dead fast."
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
That was the quote of the weekend.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, some people with personality like that, you can't hate Danny Ricciardo.
Oh God, no.
If you hate Danny Ricciardo, you are soulless.
But this is Aussies in general. Like, I'm sure there's I've met many an Aussie bloke,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there are some Aussie blokes out there that are dickheads.
I haven't met
found
one yet. No, I know exactly what you mean.
They're one of my favourite flavours of people.
Well, that just leaves us really with Mercedes.
Faultless start from Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Just kept out of the way and managed to even starting 5th. How he managed to be 2nd by the end of the term. By the end of turn 1, after everybody else took themselves out,
Because 3 cars ahead of him had stopped.
Yeah, but they
Or didn't have as many bits on as they had when they set off.
Yeah, but to avoid that
Yeah.
and be behind Vettel, who then decided he was going to dance into the barriers, he must have thought all of his Christmases and birthdays had come at once when he saw that Ferrari slam it into the wall in front of him, and he went, "Oh, there's no one ahead of me. I'm leading this race."
Yeah. How did this happen?
I'll just check my mirrors and make sure Vettel didn't hit anyone else behind me. Oh no, there are other cars still in the race.
He said on the podium as soon as he seen it was raining this morning, he knew where he was going to finish.
Yeah.
He was very upbeat on the driver parade as well.
Yeah, I was
He was-
really surprised about
How
chirpy
we
he
were
was.
saying on
Yeah.
last week's podcast, it's a hot race, a humid race. We're probably gonna hear stressed out Lewis, losing his breath, catching his breath on the radio
And
again.
now he's gone vegan as well to save the planet.
Yeah, but he was.
He announced that from his private
He
jet.
did. But he was casual as on the radio.
Yeah, there's an interview bombing Vettel
Yeah.
in the classic car. on one of the safety cars. I think it was the third one, the Ericsson one. And he's there with his arms crossed on top of the steering wheel.
Yeah. Go, why is there a safety car, man? Come on. You're not. Would a VSC not have done for this?
Yeah, everyone was expecting him to start Snapchatting.
Yeah, but he was right. He was driving like that with his hand on the dashboard. I was like, "This is what you do."
He did counter that though by saying when he after saying there should have been a VSC by saying I didn't realise the car was backwards facing the wrong way on the track. Yeah, but you see, like I'm not a Lewis Hamilton fan, to be perfectly honest. I would prefer him to win the World Championship.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want Ferrari to win one. You know,
Fair enough.
So
I mean, when it comes to Lewis Hamilton, I'm a fan of his racecraft, but his off-track antics they are a little.
Do you know what the
annoying.
only thing is about that? I think him and Ricciardo, I think are the only two people, whether like their personalities or not.
Yeah.
I think that's them.
Yeah, I think it is.
Joe,
Too. Yeah.
I
They're
think
real,
that's
real
honourable.
open and honest people.
I also think Lewis Hamilton's probably one of the better people that if you happen to meet him somewhere, I think you'd have quite a lot of time.
Probably.
Yeah.
Did
I
you
think
see
that's a
the
good
Kimi
thing.
Raikkonen interview with Martin Brundle at the last race? Not the one that's just gone one before.
Yes.
He said, do things go normally for you? Do you, do you still got to go out and, how's life for Kimi Raikkonen outside of Formula One? Are you a normal person? He's like, well, yeah, someone's got to get the shopping. It's just that Kimi Raikkonen's another one. That's Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah.
You're not getting anyone else. You're not getting like Nico Rosberg, for example. Press Nico Rosberg.
Yeah.
Also, congratulations, Nico Rosberg,
Yeah.
on the birth of your child.
Oh, is the baby
Today,
Rosberg born?
Yes.
Nalia, I think they've called her.
Yeah, 9 months after the.
No, did he get it from the back of a fucking wardrobe?
I think he must have celebrated in Abu
You've
Dhabi.
you've always said he was in the closet. Yeah, 9 months on from winning the World Championship, and
He's a dad again.
he's a
Yeah.
dad,
So
becomes a dad again.
I think there was a celebration in Abu Dhabi, and they've given her a name befitting. Sort of, it's an Arabic name.
So I guess it just proves that he didn't have the trophy in his hands all the time.
Well,
I bet he
let's
did.
ask Mrs. Rosberg.
To be perfectly, given the right setup, you don't need your hands.
Maybe he had to look at the trophy.
He went on.
Can you just put this mask on?
I love the idea now of it being on the side of a table with a blanket over it, so he just so not to distract him. And then 45 minutes later, he just whips the cover off and goes, "Oh."
Congratulations, Nico.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Rosberg, on the birth of your child.
Why sort of
Nalia
10
Rosberg.
and a half months ago there was a blanket over one of your Jensen Button photos that I've only just remembered seeing?
No, because what happened to Jensen, I had to get that out of my mind to finish. It's not that there was no good stories for the end of Jensen's career, but he's the right man for fucking Williams.
Not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen, but
He's going to be driving Super GT next year.
Tell you what,
Yeah, it does look like it, doesn't it?
yeah. But realistically, even with McFucking Jensen Button spectacles off, Julian Palmer, Paul Di Resta, Felipe Massa, Jensen Button, who are you going to call?
Robert Kubica.
It's called I still stand with the fact that 4 out of the 5 have got all their hands.
Yes. Well, Kubica's got all of his hands. He just can't maneuver one of them as well as the others.
I tell you what, though, if you drop something down the back of somewhere, or you're like when you get that pound between your seats.
Don't say it, baby.
Tom was a superpower at that point.
It's all right because I'm not sharing the joke on there that I put on our chat thread about
Anyway,
atrophy and atrophy.
It's a faultless drive from Lewis Hamilton.
Absolutely, yes.
And if Mercedes did set that car up for the race, knowing that it would be a wet race, because they must listen to this podcast because it's the second race in a row that I've got the day right where it's going to rain. So, thank you, Toto, for listening. And you can send me the thanks in the mail somehow. But also, Bottas for finishing third when he had an awful weekend and was like 8th for most of the weekend. All right, okay, he didn't manage to catch and pass an ailing Red Bull.
The cars that were in his way crashed most of them. Because where did he qualify?
I think 8th did he qualify, something like that.
I thought he was 5th.
No, Hamilton qualified 5th.
Was he sixth then? I thought he was just behind Hamilton.
Possibly.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like basically, the car where he finished was where the cars in front of him crashed.
Yeah, but I mean, he did have to do a little bit of racing. He had to overtake Stoffel Van Dorn.
Yeah. I'm not convinced.
He got mugged by Van Dorn, didn't he? Into that first turn. A great pass. Very, very good pass.
Bottas started 6th on the grid.
6th, not 8th.
Hamilton 5th.
So Mercedes qualified the third best team and finished the first best team.
Three cars went out in front of him.
Yeah, but I mean, it's supposed to be a dire weekend for Mercedes. I think they're
like,
first and a third. I think Toto Wolff's got his hands.
Dare I say, today Lewis Hamilton won his fourth world championship.
That's brave.
Looks quite that way.
Yeah.
It is brave. But
it is brave because there are 6 races to go and he's got a 28-point lead. Regardless of what happens in Malaysia, there'll be 5 races to go and Lewis Hamilton will still have a championship lead.
Yeah.
And that's worst case scenario. Lewis Hamilton still has a 3-point lead.
Yeah.
So,
but
unless he doesn't finish a race.
Yeah. But last year,
if he doesn't finish the race and Vettel wins it in Malaysia, Hamilton still has a 3-point lead.
But then it's back to fucking even Stevens again, isn't it?
Well,
very near.
If you think back to last year, Rosberg won the championship in Malaysia.
Yeah.
When Hamilton's
engine
kaboom.
blew up.
Yeah.
That's one race further on than Singapore.
Yeah.
I think Singapore this year is last year's Malaysia.
Yeah. I tell you what, I think it's. I think it might be a turn of good fortune for Lewis when you look at this year. When you look at the year he had last year,
3 races in a row now.
Fucking unfair what happened to him.
Well,
with the failures.
When Hamilton won in Belgium, and then when it went to Italy, it was like, well, nobody's won 2 races back to back yet. Hamilton won in Italy, and now he's won a single 3 race wins in a row.
Yeah,
he takes his race win total to 60. 60 race wins.
Yeah.
All right, Schumacher's 91 is a little bit down the road still, but
it's attainable.
It's you finished the season well, and
I think both Vettel and Hamilton, if they choose to stay in Formula One long enough, both have the opportunities. Given the fact that they are both in Mercedes and Ferrari, they have the opportunities to take
Schumacher's records.
Yeah. Both records.
Yeah, world championships and wins. Yeah, we shall see. It'll be interesting next year if there is a jet a real an even closer title race than we've had so far this year. If this year, for example, Hamilton goes on to win the championship, and then you've got Vettel and Hamilton, both on 4 championships, going head to head for a world title.
I know some of our listeners are going to fucking hate this. And it's good, like, there's things where someone says something that just makes you angry for no apparent reason.
So people about to smash their headphones up.
A little bit.
Oh,
I think this year has proven that Vettel's a very good driver that was in an exceptional Red Bull car, whereas Lewis Hamilton is one of the best drivers that Formula One's ever seen.
It's really hard to judge Hamilton's skill, because the Mercedes is an exceptional car.
Is an exception, but I think the Ferrari is also an exceptional car, and
even when McLaren had a poor car in 2009 because they pushed 2008 so hard, they were awful in 2009. Hamilton still went out and won races.
Yeah.
I just want to point out, I'm just watching various tweets come in.
Yeah.
So we've got a live Twitter client open. Carlos Sainz has gone out and started partying.
Good.
He has just tweeted, "I have nothing to add to F1 saying boom shakalaka."
Boom shakalaka. Wind your body.
Apache Force Indian.
Oh, yes. Brilliant.
That's quite good.
If only Sainz was a Force India driver. Oh, well. But yeah, I mean, it was an event. I thought it was quite an action-packed race. Did get a little bit of a lull.
It lulled a couple of times, and then there was another safety car, and then the track conditions changed. You can't have 2 hours.
Do you remember Bernie's sprinkler idea?
Yeah. You can't have 2 hours of wall-to-wall excitement. I think you need that little bit of a break.
Yeah, well, you hit the time limit as well, didn't we, before the laps were up? I think lap 56 was the last lap, wasn't it?
Other thing I've been noticing as well, especially this year, I probably noticed it before too. Considering I said I'm not a Lewis Hamilton fan, I fucking sound like one at the minute. But how good is
You've
Lewis?
started being nice about Rosberg this year as well. What the hell's up with you? You changed, man. You changed.
No, I have Kevin Magnussen and I have fucking Ericsson. The
Shunt Junior could have Ericsson in his pram.
true. How good are Lewis's restarts behind a safety car?
Well, they're usually pretty spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, to pull out that lead on.
I mean, you're talking like 4 or 5 car lengths when everyone else was within.
Well, there was a
2
safety car in Belgium, wasn't there? It
Yeah.
looked like Hamilton had bolted at one point, and he was like, no, I
Yeah,
haven't,
yeah.
not yet. And then when he did go, he left
Yeah,
Vettel
it's
behind.
gone.
Yeah.
So, that just remains hero and villain of the day for us all. Villain,
Ferrari.
Ferrari for...
I don't know. The person in charge of the
whoever runs
Ferrari's...
Ferrari's social media.
Yeah. Because they are wrong, and they are wrong to stand by
Is
it.
that villain or is that just asshole?
Asshole.
Asshole of the day.
Yeah, hero of the day.
Nemesis is bigger than... you would consider more evil than a villain, wouldn't you?
Well,
or more dangerous.
Nemesis is more personal.
Yeah,
though.
Nemesis is someone set out to destroy you, and I
Nemesis
don't
of Formula
feel
One.
that Ferrari's social media team.
Sergio Marchionne
I
is
don't
the
know.
nemesis of Ferrari.
They directly attacked the aggrieved party in that accident, so I would say Nemesis.
Verstappen's nemesis,
Yeah.
who did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Ferrari
So that can
are...
be Nemesis of the weekend. What's your villain?
Whoever second in command of Ferrari social media. Yeah, I think Ferrari were just Ferrari behind the scenes were just arseholes of the week,
Yeah.
or certainly arseholes of the day.
Hero. Mercedes for their performance on race day when they were so far behind elsewhere in the weekend.
I think they knew what they were capable of doing, and through luck, the weather played into the right hands. I think Mercedes knew that they were going to be fast in race pace, and they were going to take advantage of what was going to be the inevitable safety car, because we still haven't had a Singapore Grand Prix without one.
No. 100% showing in the 10 years.
The
or
weather
10 races.
made it easier for them to do. They won that race by not even being the best on all 3 days, but they won that race because they knew exactly what they had to do to win that race, and that's how they won it.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to go with different heroes and villains. Villain, Nico Hulkenberg's pneumatic system.
Yes.
I wanted to see him get that podium.
Which he could well have got.
He was looking like he could do it, and it would have been absolutely brilliant for him to get that podium
On the
the
day.
day when it stopped him being the longest running driver with no podiums. Hero, Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz's drive was epic.
It was brilliant drive with. I think he did stand a chance of winning it if the ultra soft tyres started fading off.
Yeah.
He
If they
could
didn't
have-
have that last safety car period,
then he
could-
might have won.
yeah, Carlos Sainz may have won that
It was
race.
one hell of a brave call by Toro Rosso to do it, and it worked. And it's just a shame that it couldn't have worked better.
Yeah.
Because does that make Ericsson joint villain?
Was that no? Ericsson's a villain. There you go then for that crash. Ericsson villain, Sainz hero. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, moron.
Yeah. I'm going Lewis Hamilton hero because he won the race that Mercedes weren't supposed to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the villain
Dominantly as well
Eddie Jordan.
for being there,
Yeah.
for just being somewhere near the podium.
There was the way he was talking. There was a split second. I thought he'd won that race because it become the Eddie Jordan.
Singapore! Oh my God! All you people!
It's like, all I want to
Go
hear
away.
is like some interference in like on some sort of Bluetooth connection or something, which happens to pick up through the tannoy of the circuit, and all you see is a red dot, and hear a little pop, and then this voice going, "Tango down." That's all I want to see from
Well, do
Eddie
you know if
Jordan.
there'd have been a thunderstorm at the end of the race, Jordan wouldn't have been allowed to do the podium interview because you can't have that much nylon exposed during lightning conditions.
Yeah. Although there was definitely static in the air before the race.
Oh,
Did you see the man with the hair?
the guy from the FIA? He it started as a comb over, and by the end of the interview, it was a Mohican.
That's tremendous. No, but like I don't understand why they still ask Eddie Jordan to do podium interviews. Do people still like Eddie Jordan? Is the people out there
If you like Eddie Jordan, no.
really, Dan?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I
no.
like the guy.
I love that. Like I
Yeah.
love the way you say that. Like, I've got nothing to be ashamed of. I like Eddie.
Every village needs an idiot.
I'm going to have an Eddie Jordan fans pride march.
All right, okay.
That's
So
gonna be-
you're walking to the shop.
yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
but proudly.
Yeah.
I'll
In
buy
support of
biscuits while I'm there.
No. San
If you
Fernando-
like Eddie Jordan and you want to join in on Dan's Eddie Jordan Pride March, don't contact us.
I would actually guess that maybe given the fact 'cause there's never really been a Mrs. Jordan around, has there?
Oh yeah.
Is there? Oh right, I didn't. Cause
Don't you remember the TV series from the year that?
No,
David
that's
and Ralph
Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Were dear.
Dan's broken.
We have broken down. Yeah, but you remember the TV series from the year that Damon and Ralph were driving for him, and they had a year in the life of Jordan. It was
Yeah.
over about 4 or 5 weeks, and they did like at home with the Jordan sections, and there was a Mrs. Jordan and Jordan Juniors.
God fucking bless her. But no, I thought like maybe if Dan's better chance of bumping into him might have been actually just going to a Pride march. But
I kind of fell flat after that. No San Fernando this week because we haven't got the radio transcripts yet because we're recording this one a little bit early.
And also, we don't think
because he
Fernando
only
was
sent
that
about
sad.
2
Yeah.
radio
Yeah,
messages.
but if we might get to see other ones that were broadcast. So if there is sad Fernando from this race, we promise
it's
you
just sad Fernando. It's his honest fucking text messages.
we will have it next. We will have it next week. Right. I suppose we've got a few newsy bits as well that have.
A couple, we sort of
cropped
touched on them, didn't we? A
Yeah.
little bit as we went through the teams.
Yeah, the first thing being Aston Martin have said they're going to be the title sponsors of Red Bull from next year, although the engine is still going to be a Tag Heuer. Mm-hmm. So they'll have a Renault engine that's not called Renault, and they'll be sponsored by another car manufacturer.
Who may be interested in supplying engines.
If the costs are low enough in 2021 for the new engine regulations, somebody from Aston Martin actually said on the grid today that they may well look into it. To which the response in the blogging room was, "Yeah, making a Formula One engine in 1 year, that works well."
Yeah.
And the rumour is that the Red Bull livery could become partially British Racing Green. And I don't know how that works with blue and green. Without looking like a beer bottle that's had wheels strapped to it.
I think that's what if they do that, it'll look like a Heineken can. Instead of saying
Basically.
Heineken, I'll say Red Bull.
Oh God, it'll kind of like
It look like
Penny
Jack.
Tartan and it'll look like Jackie Stewart. Yeah, the Red Bull walking shortbread tin.
To be fair, Jaguar was a pretty fit car.
Yeah, but it didn't have blue on it.
Do you need to have blue on it?
Red Bull probably need to have blue on it.
I mean, yeah, but the cans are blue, but the actual Red Bull logo isn't. There's not a lot of blue in it. It's just like red, white, yellow.
A blue background.
How would this work? Because at the moment, Red Bull are the title sponsor of the Red Bull team.
Well, they're the Red Bull racing team, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
but
gonna
I
be
mean,
Aston Martin Red Bull Racing, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
but up until 2 years ago, it was the Infinity Red Bull team because Infinity were the title sponsors, which is
They've gone with Renault.
posh. It's posh,
Renault.
posh Renault mixed with a bit of Nissan.
Yeah.
Is that like Renault's Overfinch?
Little bit, yeah.
I thought it was more like Nissan's Lexus.
Was it? I don't know.
It's Nissan. It's a joint venture between Renault and Nissan. But yeah, it's like Maybach is to Mercedes a little bit.
You're right. Okay. Not AMG or the
AMG are the tuners.
Yeah.
AMG and Mercedes is Cosworth.
Oh, it's all confusing. And I wouldn't mind. They're all owned by another umbrella company that owns all of the fucking companies. It's
So
fucking
Rupert Murdoch.
crazy. Yeah.
So who's on first base? What's the password?
Right. I still think that what Red Bull are doing at the minute is giving themselves options to see what comes along and what's best. Because I mean, VW raised its head again, didn't it, this weekend?
Yes.
In connection with Red Bull, even to the point of buying part of the team.
Porsche has been mentioned several times.
Yeah, and Honda now have come in to do Toro Rosso. See, this comes back. I think I can see the way Formula One's going at the minute, and this is why I think eventually Mercedes, Eddie Jordan will be right. I fucking hate saying that. And Mercedes will sell the team.
I like Lewis. Eddie Jordan might be right.
Congratulations, Nico Rosberg.
Lee.
Where's the real Lee?
I'm a father. It changes you.
Yeah, you've shaved.
I think we're going to go back to
Because he's
Formula
going
One.
on holiday.
Where we're going to go back to Formula One, which is more about the privateer-based teams, but which is a privateer-based teams which have backing from an engine manufacturer, because it's the cheapest way for engine manufacturers to get into Formula One without having to foot the whole bill for the whole fucking team.
Yeah,
So it's kind of going to be the de facto works era.
Yeah, I mean, they might end up being... Red Bull may end up being Aston Martin F1.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget, Formula One used to be the de facto works era.
Yeah.
When you Williams, Renault, and then McLaren, Mercedes, and fucking countless others.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think if Porsche wants to come in, I can see them supplying an engine. I can see VW coming in. I can actually see Honda buying out Toro Rosso.
Possibly. I'm having another Honda team.
Yeah.
It just all depends what these 2021 regulations are going to be like. If it was
Don't forget there are other engine suppliers as well.
If we're in the days of Bernie, it would probably be something like the cars have to be powered by M&Ms.
Yeah.
And then the Ferrari would get the wrapper into illegally. Oh, we didn't say which M&Ms. But don't forget Lamborghini, Cosworth.
Alfa Romeo.
Well, under the Ferrari badge.
Well, Alfa Romeo, I think we'll see in Formula E before we'll see in Formula One.
Well, it's Maserati they're looking at for Formula E at the moment, apparently.
Oh, is that this week's?
Yeah,
right.
Maserati.
See, could we see Formula E becoming the cheap alternative to LMP1?
I think so. That's where a lot of manufacturers seem to be.
And that's where the technology seems to be going as well. So it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Than seeing how quick we can make a diesel car.
Yeah.
So that would leave that then would leave room for teams if they wanted to just make a simple or simpler Formula One combustion engine. I think we'll see Formula One get rid of hybrid power when the next rule shake-up comes around. I will end up with like a normally aspirated V8 again or something like that.
I think that's got to happen because it's been proved across WEC and in Formula One. Hybrid technology, as good as it is, isn't ready because the reliability isn't there. And if it's there to reduce costs, well, they're not reducing costs because the components in the power unit keep failing.
I'll tell you the problem.
So the teams are still having to spend more money developing ones that are more reliable. So instead of spending a fortune on building the parts, they're spending even more on R&Ding the parts.
But it's not just that. It's the fact that regardless of what anyone wants to think, it's just not quick enough yet. For Formula One, electric isn't quick enough because of themselves, the batteries are too heavy.
Yeah.
Like the batteries inside a Formula E car, if you take the rest of the car away, the batteries probably weigh more than a fully fueled Formula One car.
Yeah.
So it's just not the thing for Formula One. I personally want to see Formula One stay as it is to a point of being still like classic racing, like we're used to seeing. But if they can certainly formulate rules, which is just about making fast cars that the best drivers in the world want to get into and race around tracks, that's all I really want to see from any of it.
I think that's all any of us want to see from
Yeah.
to be basically honest.
Though at the end of the day, the best drivers in the world, they're not going to care so much about what car they're getting into.
As long as it's good.
As long as the other best drivers in the world are also racing that car.
Yeah.
So, yes, there are some who will say, no, I don't want to race in Formula E because it's electric and I don't like racing electric cars. I think Verline has said he doesn't want to be a Formula E driver because he doesn't like the electric cars. But for most of the drivers, if you want top drivers racing against each other, you get a load of top drivers together, and it won't matter so much about the car as long as it is quick.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it's turbo or normally aspirated or hybrid or whatever.
I just think the Formula E cars to me scream like you could almost make them a road car if you licensed them and stuck number plates on them. You know, I think there's far too much about Formula, even down to the fact they use road tyres. I think there's far too much.
And canopies from next season.
Yeah. There's far too much in Formula E which I think is transferable, which I understand that's what manufacturers like.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a sport where I go, that car's got the same fucking brakes as my dad's car. I don't want to watch that. I want to watch people in fucking spaceships.
Well, that's what British Touring Car Championship was designed
Yeah,
for as well. British Touring Car Championship, much in the same as DTM, which has completely evolved well away from that now, was cars you could buy in the showroom with a few stickers on them, being driven by...
stock cars. Almost.
Essentially, like posh stock cars,
Yeah.
It was a car equivalent to superbikes because there had to be a road-going version of that car that you entered.
Yeah.
And
But I mean, there's
like
literally
WRC.
especially in like the 90s. Well, yeah, WRC is now, they've all got huge arches on
Yeah.
them, but they don't look like the cars you can go and buy. Whereas British touring cars, up till quite recently, were cars you could go into a shop and be like, I want that Ford Mondeo, and it looked. Bear in mind, didn't have the stickers all over it, but your Ford Mondeo looked like the one that Alain Menu just won the race in the last weekend.
When Alain Menu was kicking ass in the Megane, my mate bought a Megane and sent it off to England to get remapped the same as a British touring car.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
What we got next? We've done the Perez one. Kubica Williams test, apparently.
Private Williams test in is it 2014 car?
It would have to be 2014 as the newest one.
Yeah.
It'll probably be on one of the days when they take Lance Stroll to a circuit and give him some track time as well.
Maybe.
Because that's what Paddy Lowe's been doing. It's paid off for him. It's going to be a case of this one is going to be shit or bust for Kubica. If Williams take him onto a track day in one of their cars and he performs, that raises a whole lot of questions. If he doesn't perform, then that's one off the list of potential seat fillers for Massa for next season.
Yeah.
I think it's done. I think there was a...
Massa will be sneaking away from Kubica's car wearing a mask and a cape after
Yeah, but hang on, right?
putting a load of drawing pins in the tyres.
Williams need the sponsorship because there's no money behind Felipe Massa anymore.
No.
So Williams need the sponsorship as well as their title sponsor Martini. So Kubica would bring the spotlight to Williams.
Yeah.
But would he bring any money?
He would bring the
The
spotlight.
spotlight brings money to a large extent.
But would it bring as much money as Palmer?
Palmer was what, 30 million?
Yeah.
10 million Palmer. That's,
Oh, is
10.
it?
Yeah, that's
But even
what
that, 10 million is a lot of money.
I think Kubica could probably bring more because he would bring more face time.
If Kubica comes back to Formula One, he's the kind of guy who'd have a film made about him, documentary film and actual, active film.
Yeah. The only I'm not even so bothered about his injury because it looked like the test he did looked quick. If he was 28, I'd say this wasn't a bad idea.
But he's 32.
But he's 32,
I know what you mean.
and he looks 42.
Yeah, but he did when he was 21.
Yes, this is true. You can't say his accident aged him. It wasn't through drama. But I just don't.
It's all the hyperbaric work he's had done. It's actually frozen him at looking like the same age as he was when he had the accident.
Yeah, I think it's a shame. And don't get me wrong, there's a bit of me that would just love to see him back on the grid because it's...
Everyone loves a big comeback story.
It's a goodwill story. But on the other half of me says, when I moan about drivers taking seats up, like Ericsson...
Yeah.
Let's go. We didn't get fucking Alex Lynn in a Williams because they couldn't manage to sort of sponsor out for him, and he was a genuine contender for who could have been a really good Formula One driver.
But we know that Kubica We know that Kubica is a proper driver. We don't know if he is today, but we know that the capability is there.
But at 32, how long is it going to take him to get up to speed again? if he can get up to the same position he was in. I think 32 now in modern Formula 1 is too old to come into the sport. It might not even be it might not even be too late. Sorry, for a fully functioning person to come in.
But Paul the Rest is Paul the Rest now. Is he 31?
Yeah.
Paul the Rest or something like that.
And like
31.
Right,
That's going to be the point I was going to raise.
Yeah.
If you think that's too late to come back into Formula 1, I think Paul the Rest is probably. I don't think. I think he's around the same age.
Oh yeah, no.
Can I just say,
Yeah,
32 is the age that Damon Hill was
different. It was a
when
different era.
when he ran his first Grand Prix.
Different,
it was a different
era. Because all the drivers were older then. It wasn't. It was like Damon Hill came in as one of the young guys at 32. But the thing is, and this sounds so harsh, and it sounds like I'm trying to be crude and funny, and I don't mean it to be, but I just don't. I don't have any better words. But he is literally coming into Formula 1 with a handicap. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, it doesn't make sense. It's too big a gamble. I can understand why Renault wanted to do it because there's a history there with Renault.
Yeah.
And I think there might have even been some people at the top of Renault that feel that they wanted to give something back.
Well, I don't get the
Kubica.
impression that there was a plan for Renault to evaluate Kubica for a race seat.
Do you think they were just letting him?
They
get
gave
what
him a
he was
test
needing
drive
to do?
and
And
said,
he just
"Hang
happened.
on, let's
He-
take a closer look here.
Yeah,
Have
he's
another test drive.
Yeah.
Right, we really need to take a proper look
Yeah,
here."
yeah. He surprised Renault,
Yeah.
whereas they were probably just doing something to help him more than anything.
Yeah, and he
Didn't
actually ended
expect
up
it to be
being quick.
But,
But I think, to be honest with you, I don't think Kubica is going to be in that Williams. If
No,
he
I
is,
don't.
brilliant. I think that drive, if Massa goes, and I think Massa will go, I think that drive will go to Paul di Resta.
I
because,
think it will.
Because of Paddy Lowe.
Yeah.
Paddy Lowe is very pragmatic, very let's play it safe man. If Flavio Briatore was a manager at Williams, then fine.
Stroll would have gone into the wall this afternoon just after Massa's. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but the now, if Flavio Briatore or Gianluca Minardi, for example, was it Gianluca or Giancarlo Minardi? Can't remember.
It was Giancarlo.
Giancarlo Minardi. If either of those, quite boisterous, sort of a little bit spontaneous team owners, Eddie Jordan even to a certain extent.
The publicity seekers.
Yeah. Then it would be Kubica. Almost guarantee it, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's pragmatic. Paddy Lowe's essentially in charge of that team now. I mean, all right, okay. Claire Williams is the head of the team.
Acting team principal, which when Frank's not there.
Frank's sort of emeritus now, isn't he? Chairman emeritus. He's there. He still has a say, but he's probably not well enough to make it to all the races now.
Yeah.
So you don't see Frank Williams around very much. He handed most of his responsibilities over to Claire.
Yeah.
Claire's obviously busy being. Is she a mum now, or is she about to be a mum?
It's in the next couple of months.
Yeah, she's not going to any more of the races.
So Paddy Lowe's running that team.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's running the team, but on race day,
He's the man.
He's the point man. He's the one at trackside.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Paddy Lowe being the pragmatic, no, hang on, let's be careful about this. Let's think about this and do it the safest way possible. That's why they'll put Paul di Resta in the car and not Robert Kubica. So I don't know where
There was talk
Kubica will
yesterday
go.
on Sky about them splitting the drive between Kubica and di Resta.
Yeah.
On Sky,
Yeah.
where Paul di Resta works.
Yeah, when Paul di Resta went very, very quiet. And they made a point of saying, Paul di Resta's gone very, very quiet when we mentioned that.
Yeah,
If he knows anything, he's almost certainly bound by a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
That would be a. What do you mean by splitting the drive?
like 4 races here, and then switch for 4 races.
Absolutely ridiculous idea.
Like they
that
did
would
with
never happen.
was it Force India who did it with Liuzzi?
Yeah.
Red Bull used to do it. Because they had...
Oh no, it was Red Bull with Liuzzi.
It was
Yeah.
Red Bull with Liuzzi and...
Coulthard and Webber.
Yeah, it was before they had Toro Rosso to become a meat factory.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was Liuzzi, Coulthard and Webber at Red Bull.
Yeah.
The 3 of them had different... Yeah, it was Liuzzi and Coulthard, then it was Liuzzi and Webber. And then I think Webber was actually the full-time driver, actually thinking about it. And it was Coulthard and Liuzzi that swapped before they got rid of Liuzzi completely. And it was just Coulthard and Webber then for a year or 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't sound a good idea to me.
Especially not when one of your drivers. I mean, it might be a bit different for Durista because he works in the simulator and with the
It was
team.
Coulthard, Clean and Liuzzi.
Clean.
But you're
And then the following season it was Coulthard, Clean and Dornbos.
but you've
Robert
got
Doorknobs.
Oh God.
you'd have Kubica, which essentially like there's nobody in the world which needs more track time than him. Nobody in the world. If he's going to get back to where he would want to be and where the team would want him to be.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense that. I don't see him coming back. I think like you say, I think the best safe money would be Durista.
Durista doesn't seem like the most obvious choice to me. I know he is their reserve driver and hopped in at a moment's notice when Massa was ill.
Mm-hmm.
But while Kubica went out of the sport because he had a big accident and was invalided out, basically, Durista...
He was sponsored out though, Durista, wasn't he? Force India wanted more money. Durista couldn't get it.
And then there was no other drive for him.
The seat was outbidded. But it was one of those times where there was just nowhere for him to go. Would you take him over Palmer?
Durista.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I would take him over Palmer. But the only thing is, I don't know whether Williams would take him over Palmer because of money.
I'd want to see how they stacked up against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've said before, Palmer, I don't think he's ever going to be one of the greats.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think Paul Duresta is either.
No.
Palmer hasn't had a good year this year with his car breaking down nearly every race.
Yeah.
Okay, when the car's been there, he hasn't been anywhere near Hulkenberg. This weekend was probably the time he's looked closest, and he was still lapping half a second down.
See, the other thing I'm confused about when it comes to Durista is whenever people talk about when he jumped into the car in Hungary, people talk about what a good job he did. Now, he did a good job in the fact that he didn't crash. And I understand how immensely difficult that would be to do it. So I'm not saying he did a bad job. I'm just saying I don't understand how people can see he did a good job.
Because he'd never ever driven that car before.
Yeah.
Within half an hour's notice, he went out and drove that car, improved by half a second a lap. Was only 7/10, was it, off Lance Stroll? Well, it's 7/10 off Lance Stroll, who's had a full year almost in that car, and didn't start last. Started the race not last.
Right.
At half an hour's notice, when everybody else has been driving their cars, their respective cars, for 8 months at that point.
And hadn't had time to get any track time to actually gauge what he wanted to do setup-wise.
Didn't even do FP3.
Well, he couldn't change the setup, could he?
I think he did a respectable job, but don't think you can say
a good job. Do you know what,
he
I mean?
He did the best that he could.
I
under
think
the
he did it.
circumstances.
But what I'm trying to say is, I don't think he did a bad job, but I don't.
From that, you can't judge whether he's a good driver or not.
That's what I mean.
But I always thought he was a good driver in Force India.
The only
reason he got pushed out, he finished fourth in Singapore a few years ago in that Force India. He got a couple of fourths last year.
There was a time where I thought he might be a world champion in the making.
And the only reason he lost his seat was because Force India needed sponsorship, and Perez brought a lot of it with him.
Yeah.
That was literally the only reason that Paul Di Resta wasn't a Formula One driver.
Yeah.
And a lot of teams realised after Di Resta lost his seat that they maybe should have signed him, but they didn't. So he went back. So he went back to DTM with Mercedes, and I don't know if he's won DTM. He's won races.
Yeah, no,
definitely
I think
won
he the
races.
championship.
And he's a solid DTM driver, as well as I think a very, very decent Formula One driver. If he'd come in at Hungary, I mean, he was never going to lose. He wasn't in a lose-lose situation, was he, at Hungary? If he came in and did a poor job, was 8 seconds off the pace, and then retired after 2 laps because any reason, then we would have gone, well, he didn't have time to prepare, but he did well to even get in the car.
I think Hungary's probably the most difficult one to judge how the Williams were doing, or how he was doing, because the Williams was crap.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, De Resta won his DTM title
Yeah.
the season before he joined Force India full time. He was third driver for that season.
You see, that's my only. The only thing is, like I say, I don't think he did a bad job by any stretch of imagination, but I don't think he did a job where you could go, that's our guy now.
I disagree.
But
I think he's worth a look.
I prefer. Don't get me wrong. I think of the available options, I would prefer De Resta in, and I still think he'll be the one because he's already part of the team.
You just want to see Jensen back in a Williams for one last hurrah, don't you?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't say no if Jensen Button turned around and said, "I want to drive Williams next year."
Jensen
is that all right,
would
guys?
immediately be the best option.
Oh, yeah, I
Yes.
think so. Yeah.
Uh,
But I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think it's going to happen. He seems to be having quite a lot of fun outside of Formula One.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he says he's not a Formula One driver anymore.
Does he? Has he took it off his Twitter?
No, he just tells people, I'm not a Formula One driver now.
Because someone replied to his Twitter the other day saying, "How come you still got Formula One driver as your on your Twitter profile?" He said, "Because I'm still a Formula One driver."
He drove this year.
I suppose he's been in this season.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it for the news scene as we're recording on a Sunday, so we are 2 days away from all the big stories breaking.
Which means tomorrow we'll see.
Tomorrow we'll see a load of
Vettel
stuff come out on a Monday for the first time.
Vettel
Alonso
retire.
announcing his future.
Yeah, Alonso moving to Ferrari to replace Vettel whilst Vettel.
You do realise this is going up on Tuesday, so all these news stories that happened yesterday between us recording and publishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the first time, the F1 industry decides, I'll tell you what, we've been really harsh on 3 legs, 4 wheels for ages. We'll release everything on a Monday, not knowing that we've recorded Sunday straight after the race.
Possibly.
Is that sod's law?
Yes.
Probably.
Is it total shunt time?
Yes, it is.
Probably.
Are we getting a theme tune this week?
Yes, we are.
Am I filling while Lee finds the total shunt on his laptop?
No, I'm all good. I'm fine.
Lee, you missed last week's. Chris wrote one, so we called it "Who's Flooded Their Engine."
I took over total shunt duties but we couldn't call it total shunt.
Who won?
They won. They got it on the last clue, second to last clue.
Second to last clue. I think it
JJ
was.
Leto. Yeah. Well, one I was going to put in. One of the clues was going to be I'm in a picture in Lee's room. So I'm really sorry again if you sent in a total shunt and it didn't get read out last week. It's just because I don't have access to it and I had to make one up on the spot.
So, what are we going to do for total shunts while you're not here for the next 3 shows after this?
You're going to have flooded your engines, aren't you?
I think we can manage that.
I think so.
Right.
So we can do that.
But we'll have Sean to help us for the next 3 as well.
Oh, good.
Total shunt, tell me now who's a total shunt? Kimi Raikkonen, Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen, someone tell me who is a total shunt?
It's topical and funny.
Who sent this week's in?
Red.
Oh,
Yeah.
Red Bennett?
Red Bennett.
No.
Regular Twitterist and Facebooker.
Right. I began racing in my division in 1971.
In my division.
I'm not sure about the term division either. I'm thinking that might
That might be an American term.
it might actually
I
be some
think
sort of-
with a name like Red Bennett, we are dealing
Well,
with
yeah,
American.
I think red is
Actually,
perhaps.
his Twitter name is Rusky516.
Fair enough.
No, I don't think he might be
So it
American.
might be Russian.
Yeah.
1971
First year racing.
in his division.
Yeah. Could be anyone.
Yeah. Next clue.
Well, it's probably someone involved in motorsports.
I would imagine so.
With a clue like that, I think that's what it's edging towards.
I was a team owner using Ford for many years.
Emerson Fittipaldi?
He didn't own the team, but his brother did.
Was it his brother that owned
Yes.
the team?
I can't remember his brother's name, so I'm going to call him Reg. Reginald Fittipaldi.
Is Christian his son?
Yes.
Christian Fittipaldi. Andretti's. Andretti don't use Ford, though, do they?
Well, they're on Hondas at the minute, but well, there's about 90 million Andrettis.
Okay. So,
Sorry, 90 million and one's a new one just spawned.
possibly.
Every time a bell rings, an Andretti gets his wings.
So what's the third clue?
I have 148 victories in my class.
Wow. So we're
Oh.
not talking Formula One.
No. I'm guessing this is someone who's quite good at turning left.
Well, we could be talking Formula One if it's a team owner.
I can't see the name. It's good.
So a
good
team owner.
call.
So, like, for example, would McLaren have had 148 victories in Formula One?
But they've been going longer than 1971 because Bruce McLaren kind of raced before then.
Yeah, but with a McLaren team.
Yeah, because it was his car with his name on it that he drove.
Yeah, but
his team.
I'm talking like as the
But
official McLaren.
That
capacity.
sort of approach could be the
Yeah.
one that we need. So.
Yeah.
Brabham.
Brabham used Ford, didn't they?
Everybody did at that point.
Yeah, it was big news when Brabham switched to BMW.
Okay, so we need to think of an answer now,
Well,
don't we?
I
After the
think-
third clue.
Yeah, I think Jack Brabham started well before 1971, though.
I think so too. Nicky
I-
Lauda had his own aircraft company.
That was an airline. That wasn't a team.
But did
Oh,
they win?
Best
Well,
airline.
they kept going bankrupt because that's why he came back to McLaren in 1984 to put all the money into the airline. Right. I always throw this in as a complete standby. I've got a sneaking suspicion I might be onto something with this.
Go on.
AJ Foyt, because
All right, okay.
had a team.
In 1971, though,
Yeah.
racing.
Apparently, he was a lot older than I thought.
Okay,
Thanks
fair enough.
to Jana for correcting me on that. It's just my standby answer. You know when you do a pub quiz and you've got an answer that you throw in when you can't think of anything else.
Leonard Rossiter.
There you go.
Yeah.
So AJ Foyt is my Leonard Rossiter.
Fair enough.
Can we say AJ Foyt for the first?
Yeah, we can. Fine, because
Okay.
I haven't got anything better. So I've written it on here.
You're
yeah.
writing it on there.
We don't need to pass things over. It's fine. I found what I believe is must-see audio notes.
Is
I
it
don't
soaked in
know what it
alcohol?
is.
No, it looks like it says something about chicken and chips.
Oh, yeah, it might be show notes. That was probably what we were ordering.
There you go.
Right. So yeah, first guess AJ Foyt.
Right.
I had a cameo appearance on King of the Hill.
Definitely a NASCAR driver then.
Yeah.
I'm so out of my depth when it comes to NASCAR drivers.
What's his face? Penske.
Roger.
Penske.
We've had that
We've
before.
had
haven't
Roger
we?
Penske,
But Lee's not looked at the name.
but I thought it was AJ Foyt. I mean, Penske cars have won shitloads in various classes. So 148 could be feasible. We could be
Yeah.
on for Roger Penske too.
Next.
Two Roger, two Penske.
I have won 16 championships, including 9 in the 90s.
9 championships in the 90s. Newman Haas, IndyCar.
So, first race 71, that rules out Paul Newman, but it could be Carl Haas. Because it was Carl Haas that was the Newman Haas.
Yeah, who's not related to Gene Haas
No.
off of Haas F1.
Off of Haas.
Spelled differently as well, is it?
No, it's the same
Oh, is
same
it?
spelling, I think, yeah.
It's a Dutch surname. Carl Haas could be in there.
You have one more question before I want another answer.
Yeah, and again though, Penske were good in the 90s as well.
But did they win 9 championships? Newman Haas won more, didn't they?
Don't forget, you're possibly looking at Indy and NASCAR as well.
Yeah,
And I think Newman Haas were just Indy.
they were.
I've probably got a lot of Americans screaming, "Why don't you know this?"
Because we're not that into our American sports.
Oh, we haven't been until recently.
No,
I
we like-
still don't get NASCAR.
We like professional motor racing.
Hashtag rubbing is racing. No, wrong.
Yeah.
Hashtag
Jeff Gordon was in the Mercedes garage today, wasn't he, at the Singapore Grand
Yes.
Prix?
Hashtag rubbing is a lonely night. Question 6. 3 of my daughters also became professional racing drivers. 2 of them have beaten me to victory.
3 daughters.
Might have to just leave the room. I'm out.
That was such a line of resignation. I'm literally here just to write stuff down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got to answer something here, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm like Duncan Bannatyne. I'm out.
Carl Haas.
Carl Haas.
Carl Haas.
Any advancements on Carl Haas?
No advancements.
Carl Hass is guest number 2 then.
I'm guessing this next question isn't going to help you either.
Yay.
My family was subject to an American reality TV show. I'm going to question how many families in America aren't part of American reality TV shows now.
There's a reality TV show about all those families.
No, right. I love the idea of a reality TV show about the families that haven't got one.
Yeah, the camera follows them around while they go to all the TV execs trying to get a show.
Right, next.
After a fiery crash, I claimed to have seen Elvis.
Is that...
Oh, so on track. Sorry, I should have said that as well. Yeah, to be fair, that question was caught me off guard. After a fiery crash, I claimed to have seen Elvis Presley on track.
Is that why you crashed?
No idea.
Crashed. Elvis was there. I saw Elvis. I had to swerve, so I crashed.
Pastor Maldonado.
That is possibly the most random question we've ever had on Total
Absolutely.
Show.
I tell
I
you-
suspect half our American listeners are now yelling at us, God, you should know this. It's so famous.
No. I was thinking Tom Cruise's character in Days of Thunder.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
No,
imagine,
he saw L. Ron Hubbard when he crashed.
I imagine the NASCAR, if he is a NASCAR driver, I've no idea who he is.
Look, King of the Hill, so Elvis.
Yeah, but
It's not somebody from the Great White North.
I'd
Not
imagine.
Kimi Räikkönen.
I'd imagine, given the people that watch NASCAR, they're probably so angry now they've just shot their wireless.
What they listen to their podcast on. Anyway, next one.
They were so angry they threw their loudspeaker out of their trailer. Next.
God damn, now I've got to go out onto my freeway garden. But next.
If anyone finds the plot, can you tweet it back to us, please?
My highest career speed, 335 miles an hour. There's a .15 in there. I didn't think the .15 was worth saying, really.
Right. We are
Is it
thinking
the
about
road
going round in circles of various shapes. Is it going in a straight line racing? Are we talking about drag racers here?
Oh.
That's even more redneck.
Now, I can't name a
Those
single
big, long
going in a
cars
straight
going-
line driver.
Yeah. They basically win and have a hoedown.
Yeah. 8 seconds, not even 8 seconds. Those races take like they're over in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And then they parachute. Because they haven't got, their brakes are too heavy. So they got parachutes on them. That's not a lie.
Have you seen the in cockpit video from a drag race driver where
It goes
he
on
sets
fire?
where he sets off and the steering wheel comes off in his hand, and he
Yes.
just looks absolutely terrified for about half a second, puts it back, and then deploys the parachute.
In hindsight, the parachute button should be separate to the wheel.
Because in drag racing, that half a second he was fiddling to put the
He went 19 miles.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh wow! I've I'm in a different state.
Paris.
Yeah, I think Dan's got it right that we are looking at someone who goes in a straight line quite a lot and doesn't even turn left.
What are you doing, Dan? What's that phone out for?
Cheating.
Don't cheat. That's
I'm not cheating, don't worry.
You're cheating.
I'm not cheating.
Next.
Are you looking after the cats?
Next clue.
I am, yeah.
Okay. My nickname, is amazing. My nickname is Brute Force.
Brute force.
Brute force.
Is it Bruce Fort? I'm putting that down as an answer. Have we got any other clues?
No, that's it.
Right, I'm Bruce Fort because that works.
Yeah, Bruce Fort, that well-known drag racer.
Right.
Oh, hang on. No, I can't say this, can I?
You can say it,
Yeah.
but you've got to edit it.
Yeah, we might have to play Jacques over the top of it.
I'll tell you afterwards. I can't say anything about drag and family reality show and Bruce Jenner. Next.
Don't care what clothes, still a man. I am the famous driver that we've all heard of, Mr. John Force. Oh, Jono.
Well, Chris was pretty close.
Jono Force.
You got brute force.
Mr. Force.
So was it John Force? John Force, who is the head of John Force Racing. He
Goes in a straight line.
is a drag racer, 16-time funny car champion, and 18 times champion car owner. One of the most dominant drag racers in the sport with 144 career victories. He's the father of drag racers Ashley Force Hood. We get it.
Stop it then.
Cheers for that, Red. I'm hoping that some of our American listeners had a clue that was.
I didn't.
Or even listeners from anywhere around the world.
I mean, realistically, usually when it comes to the end, we know what's going on. We're not even convinced of what this guy fucking races.
No, we got the sport.
We got the sport,
We got the
right.
sport.
And considering we know nothing about drag racing.
No, but is it drag racing on bikes or cars?
Cars.
Oh, do we know? Have we ever heard of this man?
Well, I've got his Wikipedia page up.
Right, okay,
We decided
yeah.
it was car drag racing.
No, but
which we
we
were right.
Right, yeah, but without Wikipedia, the consensus opinion would still be car racing. Yeah, it's not something you'd put your mortgage on, is it?
Well, that's where a motorsport podcast. Yeah, there was a four-wheeled podcast.
Formula One podcast.
Yeah, okay.
We've had Casey Stoner.
We have.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
And the rules of Total Shunt do involve
Yeah.
motorsport people.
We've
if
had-
we don't know them, that's
We've
not
had
our
Super
fault.
Mario
And Sonic.
and Sonic.
Yeah, okay.
No, that was a good
That was a tough one.
It was.
tough one because it's way outside our area of expertise, as you
Completely.
can tell.
It has to be said, though, since we started doing Total Shunt, I've had to do a lot more learning on other series, other drivers, other teams.
Shunt wins.
Right, so how do people send in Total Shunts?
You message me on Twitter. I am at a total shunt, and I will do them. I've got a few. So it's if you send one in and I don't do it, then it's not because I'm not going to do it. It's because I'm at the bottom of the list and I'm working to the top of that
Maybe
list.
some of the ones that you've been sent in that you've got in reserve, you can send to Chris to do, who's flooded their engine while you're away.
I could do actually. That's not a bad idea.
That might work.
Yeah, I'll do that. It's a very clever idea.
So you can tweet all of us
Yeah.
at 3 Legs 4 Wheels. Lee, you are at a Total Shunt.
Yeah.
Chris,
At Flood21.
At Danbert,
at Pablo 100 for me.
yeah, make sure you send them to me as well because it stops it getting confusing. Because then the others don't know. I shall supply the questions to floods because if people start sending them to you, then we're going to lose them and it's going to not work.
Yes,
Yes.
that is a very good idea.
Yeah.
You can drop us an email, 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Not really got time for a mailbag this week because we've not had a great deal of stuff that's come in
And
about
it's
the
Sunday.
race.
We all need to get to Satanist Church.
That is true. Formula Lee will be getting updated on the Facebook page and on the website in the next couple of days. Or it's probably already been done by now because I've now got to think Tuesday.
Yeah, now you're listening.
Yeah. It was a Mercedes in the dry in Singapore, but Lee, from you, we need a Malaysia challenge,
Malaysia.
which is going to be your last challenge before you go away. One of us will have to do the next one.
It is. I need to get it out because I need to get some fucking laps in this week before I can't be a part of it. So essentially, after next weekend, I'm easy pickings.
And I only start next weekend.
We are in Malaysia. We're gonna be wet in Malaysia,
In honour of Jensen Button's half points victory in the wet in Malaysia.
and my pants at the end of that year. And what car should we have?
It's 2017. We haven't had any of the
We haven't
cars,
had any
really.
of we've only had Mercedes and Ferrari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, was it Ferrari we used in Italy?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because it
Yeah,
was
I think
Italy.
so. No, I think it was. Yeah.
Well, we don't want to be. Malaysia's a tricky track, isn't it? No one wants a shit car in Malaysia,
Oh, I see where this is going.
so we'll go Red Bull.
Oh, that's all right then.
Yeah.
I could have. I was convinced you were going to say Sauber then.
Oh, do you know what? Fuck it. Let's have McLaren.
McLaren
Yeah.
in the wet in Malaysia.
Yeah.
Wet McLaren, Malaysia.
Yeah.
Done.
Nice one. Right, we will be a little bit late with next week's podcast.
Quite a lot late.
Quite a lot late,
late.
about 3 days.
I'm going to be massively late for the next podcast I'm on.
Yeah, that is true. By the time you're hearing this, I will definitely be in Tenerife
Yeah.
because I'm going on holiday for 10 days.
Yeah.
Lee, you go on holiday next week and you're away for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's going to be the last time we see you for a while.
It's fine.
It's emotional.
If you miss
Sorry, totes emotion.
if you miss me,
Are we launching the Winter Series Formula Lee?
We have
Yes, let's do that
something-
first.
We have something with Formula Lee for the Winter Series, and this is
We do want to say about this Winter Series. Paul, do you just want to quickly explain, or Lee, seeing as it's Lee's challenge, either of you, explain sort of what you're proposing for the Winter Series, as in the closed season
Right.
form. Because let's be honest, there are only 6 races to go now, aren't there?
we're going to have unconfirmed rules essentially for the Winter Series. Apart from, it's going to be the same thing, weather, track, but we're going to be using all the classic cars.
The Classic Series.
Yeah.
maybe not all, but as many of them as we can. 'Cause there's 12.
No, we can do 12 over the winter
Probably could
Yeah.
actually,
Uh,
if the sponsors don't mind.
if the sponsors don't mind.
You're listening, Dave.
Yeah, and we might adjust the point system a little bit. More points, more prizes.
Yeah.
But we don't know yet. But essentially, we're going to use the classic cars. We might even throw in a couple of the alternate circuits that are on the game as well.
The short circuits.
Short circuits.
Yeah.
Johnny 5.
Yeah. So
Is alive.
now I believe Flood is going to
Yes.
mention. Are you going to mention what the prize is? Or can
Well,
you do that yet?
I can mention the potential prize,
The potential
for,
prize,
for the
'cause
Winter
the
Series
potential
of Formula
prize
Lee.
It's fucking awesome.
Although
Yes, it
Dave,
is.
just before you do it, Dave from Ultraflix has said he'll carry on with the top 3 prizes for the Winter Series.
I mean,
Amazing. Thank you, Dave,
we
from
can't thank you
Ultraflix.
enough, Dave.
Also amazing.
So
Yeah.
Ultraflix 4K streaming TV services
Yeah.
available on Android
And iOS.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
iOS.
Yeah, so check
No,
out
not-
Ultraflix.
Not Samsung TVs though, unfortunately.
Ah, okay then.
Get on it, Dave.
But they are on Sony TVs.
Ta-da!
So Sony, you're better than Samsung.
So basically, it's time for the announcement of a potential prize for the Winter Series of Formula Lee. You're right.
That's our drummer
Yeah.
doing a drum roll.
It's,
You okay, Lee? You're right.
I just thought he'd got Qatar.
I was purring. Let's move on.
We don't race in Qatar. Anyway, it is a World Championship winning Nico Rosberg 2016 replica helmet.
A full-size.
Full-sized replica Nico Rosberg helmet from his
That is
2016
going
World
to look
Championship winning
awesome
year.
on somebody's mantelpiece.
Yeah.
Whoa, where are we getting that from?
Well, the helmet will be provided by CM Helmets. You can visit them at cmhelmets.com. They're also a premium global supplier of custom design helmets. If you do need a helmet, they'll work with you to make sure you get the design and specification you want. So if you're involved in
Are you listening, Dave Daddario?
yeah, Dave Daddario or James Holman, any other racing drivers we've got who listen
Nick,
as well.
Nick Patakis.
Exactly, Nick Patakis now, of course, who does racing driving as well. They have an extensive range of full-size replica F1 helmets from sports history,
Yeah.
loads of world champions, race winners, and loads of rare one-off designs as well. Way back when drivers used to have like helmets for just one race or anything like that. They got quite a few of those on there too. If you don't see a driver on the site that you like, get in contact with them. They can provide helmets of any driver that you want, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world either, because they offer free worldwide shipping.
Yeah.
We think you should pay them a visit, and we'll post a link on our Facebook page as well, and on our website too. So the prize you'll be playing for Formula Lee Winter Series, hopefully, should be a replica 2016 World Championship winning Nico Rosberg helmet,
Yeah.
full sized as well.
I better learn how to play this.
I'd also like to point out to CM helmets.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I'm a very fickle man. Like some would say, like lack borough fibre. I'm very easily bought for small things most of the time, but I could quite easily be bought with one of the Damon Hill replica helmets for various jobs. that you need doing, various advertising jobs.
Quite a good painter and decorator.
Quite a good painter and decorator. But even like on the advertising thing, if I was to accidentally say CM helmets every other fucking word I say, and one of those helmets accidentally turned up at my house, then I would.
The Damon Hill replica one.
Yeah, the Damon Hill.
The 96 replica one.
The
They've got on their
1996 Damon Hill World Championship replica helmet.
Are we changing our theme tune from "Looking Forward to Nothing" by Uberoom to "Ain't Too Proud to Beg"?
To just me going, CM helmets. CM
Can we do the
helmets.
Canyonero thing from Simpsons?
We can. 3 lanes wide and 2 miles high? Canyonero.
Yeah, they're the helmet company plugged by a clown.
Yeah, but seriously, like even if you don't, and I'm not saying this because they're hopefully going to sponsor us, and they're obviously very nice for doing so. Even if you're not really bothered in doing Formula E, go and have a look at the selection they've got there, because it's just cool to have a look, even if you're not going to buy any.
Exactly, yeah. Ayrton Senna replica helmets, Michael Schumacher replica
I believe
helmets.
there was an Alonso Indy one there as well, wasn't there?
I think there may be.
Yeah.
I'll double check that on the website later. But yeah, Alonso, loads of helmets going, and like helmets that you maybe even have forgotten about.
Like John Force.
Like Nico Rosberg.
Yeah, like Nico Rosberg. Yeah. So
Lee's back. He's got a Rosberg jibing.
So, yeah.
Right.
Give them a look.
Give them a look, because they are definitely well worth it, and I want to thank those guys for getting in touch with us.
Yeah.
If you have products that you would like us to talk about on the podcast, get in touch.
I have a product I'd like to talk about on the podcast. As I'm away for a month, if you miss me and you want to hear more of me,
You're a lousy shot.
yeah, you can now go to iTunes and look for Must See Audio, and it's a proper show with a proper logo and a genuine first episode up, which is me and my mate Martin having a bit of a chat, and you can come and listen to us.
If I download that when I'm on a plane, before I get on the plane, am I likely to get arrested for carrying offensive materials?
Depends what country you go to. But this week was really good fun. We had a little chat where we debunked the Mandela effect. We had a little chat about who the fuck a £1,000 iPhone is for. I regaled Martin of my day that I had to spend in A&E. Yeah, it was a fun show.
Yeah, I've seen the empties.
Yeah. So come and listen to us. That's Must See Audio.
Right. Well, we will be back late next week with our preview of Malaysia.
We will, but in the meantime, keep an eye out for some possible content from Dan and myself, who are the only two who are not going away. We'll try and cobble something together for you, so just to plug that gap in between podcasts.
I am staying about 10 minutes drive away from an FIA-sanctioned go-kart track, and Dan's lent me his GoPro.
Nice. If I see anything on my holiday that I think people are interested in, I'll probably tweet it.
Awesome.
You'll be able to get in touch with us all while we're away anyway, because we're friendly folks on social media.
Yeah, and we don't have many real friends in real life, like fleshy ones. The digital ones are so much nicer to us than the fleshy ones.
And we're only allowed out once a week.
Yeah,
just
the
to
only
get
friends
together
we've
to
got in
record
real
this.
life are all sat in this room, practically.
Let's hold hands.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Oh, I thought we were holding hands. What are you holding? Right, we're going. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you at some point next week.
Must See Audio.
Excellent.
Go and listen to it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.